2 Canadian teams down, 3 to go in the chase for Lord Stanley's Cup. Can it come back to Canada? Hello and welcome back to The House That Happened, sponsored by Shoey's Bar and Grill, the only place to be in suburban Etobicoke, voted 4 times the best dive bar in all the GTA. It's number 1 in our hearts, the Phoenix rising from the ashes. Hi, I'm Andrew Malani.
Hi, my name's Cruz. How you doing?
Good, buddy. We should let everyone know we're doing this remotely. I am at home and you are at home as we record this.
Yeah, deep in the bowels of Cruz's chaos. Want to shout out to everybody because it's the beginning of the baseball season, so we had to get our whole team together on what we're going to be doing as a team, as a practice, as a position. And though I'm a little bit sore right now, the Sluggers are better for it, and we open up the season on Tuesday.
Are you still playing second base?
No, I'm going to be trying to stay in right field, and I've told everybody I've got a 10-step limit. That means I'm going to take 10 steps to get to a ball. If it's more than 10 steps, I ain't getting to it.
Okay, good to know.
That's just one of the rules. We got a shout out to the oldest guy on the team, John Bellardi, who will be our starting pitcher, because we've diplomatically said, you know what, if we can do things like just pitch and catch, we can use all these younger guys to play better D. It'll manufacture a few more wins. Agreed?
That sounds good to me.
And
maybe
not
the
only
Blue
that,
Jays could take notes.
Well, of course, all teams could. And then just a set note, because my son is the manager, general manager, put this all together. His father will be batting last. So there'll be no politics of why is Zach making me hit last. I just put the old man there and it's over. We set the culture. This is how we're going to do it. And we'll earn our spots in the batting order as upon agreed upon all the guys that were there. Another truism, don't you think?
Sure. Easy peasy. I will be down for a game to watch you guys on this season.
Oh, 100%.
Maybe not for the opener, though.
We're going to be. It's all good, but it was a good practice. It was good to get everybody out there. I'm going to hurt tomorrow, I guarantee.
Ice and heating pads are key. And maybe a little bit of liquor.
I think that, too, and some green stuff, and we'll be all good.
Yes, exactly.
We'll all be good.
So we'll get right to shout-outs, I guess. I got a few, so I'll give a big shout-out.
The first shout-out we do should be, just to get it over with, shout-out to the future of our country.
Yes, sir.
And may all things be positive, and we have a bright, shiny economic adventure going forward.
And do you have your magic envelope?
My magic envelope?
Yeah, you said you had an envelope with the prediction. You said you had it written down. You were going to pull it out after the results.
I don't remember any of that. That's just someone must have made. That's alleged. That's an alleged. Okay, someone must have said that.
What was in the envelope? Conservative majority?
I never said anything about that. We weren't talking about that. I was talking about the future of our country.
Yes,
how
sir.
How great it's going to be, and that's it. That's where I'm going to go. My new line is, no sense in talking. Let's just keep on walking.
Fair enough. So the magic envelope will have to wait for another 4 years, I guess.
I'm gonna say dementia. I'm gonna plead dementia on that, okay? Because I'm just pleading dementia, and I'm knocking wood just because that's not a joke. That's nothing to joke about.
No, that is not. That is not.
Okay.
I would like to shout out the remaining teams of the CHL, of course, the Canadian Junior Leagues. Oshawa and London will compete for the OHL finals in a rematch of last year. Medicine Hat and Spokane will compete in the WHL championship. And Moncton is waiting on the winner of Rimouski Shawinigan for the QMJHL championship as we march closer to the Memorial Cup and eventually the NHL draft, for these young prospects.
The drag is, and we have somebody close to the game. Our boy, Zach Sandu, has got some injury problems, and he may not be able to play some of the time in the future. We will get an update from Serge. But if it's that case, Zach, we're cheering for you to get back on the ice as quick as possible.
And hopefully we can get him on the podcast.
Yes, we will. And hopefully by the time we get this broadcast on, he'll be already on the ice. That would be even better.
Hopefully.
Yes.
Any shout-outs for yourself?
First of all, I want to shout out to Pedro on our team, who is usually our starting pitcher, who came out to say hello because he's got a weird... kind of us old men get weird things happen to us at any time. So he's got a little infection he's got to deal with in his leg, and we are hoping for a speedy recovery, considering he still came out to support the team today, regardless of his health, which will get better soon.
Absolutely. Also,
big shout out to Pedro.
Big shout out to
Pedro.
Go ahead. I'd also like to shout out the Kentucky Derby, which will be happening today.
You stole it out of my mouth. I wanted to say that too. The 151st running, is this not just the over-the-top Americana that you get once a year. Even though horse racing is not what they say it used to be.
No.
Like
boxing.
The revelry of the Kentucky Derby will never go away. I think it's amazing. It's a great American tradition.
Yes, sir. I was actually just about to put in a little bet for one of these.
Bet on Sandman, or you can bet on it. Let's both I'll owe you $5 and bet $10 on Sandman. Did you hear about that?
What, Sandman? No.
Yeah, the odds are very odd, but sure enough, the owners of the horse are fanatical Metallica fans.
Hey, I like that.
And James Hetfield was around Kentucky around this time for some reason. He went down and took some pictures with the horse in the paddock, which I thought was super cool because Hetfield and the boys in Metallica are big sports fans.
Yes, they are, as you mentioned previously.
Yes, big sports fans. So that's cool. That's very cool.
That's it for shout-outs for me. How about yourself?
I want to shout out to what everyone's going to say is absolutely insane, but you know one of the most important things that we have on our planet is trees?
Yes.
So I walk my dog every day and I'm watching them, and I just want to shout out to all the trees that are putting their clothes back on. They're all coming in very full. It's looking very good. They're yelling back at the fir trees who are always saying, you guys freezing your ass off when it's 20 below and all the branches are bare and they're looking stark and the evergreens are looking so sweet. But this is the time of the year I always say all the other trees to get their new dresses on. So shout out. Take a look, people, because it's the world changing every day, but nobody takes the time to look at it. It's a beautiful thing.
Sure, and summer's right around the corner, basically, and I'll be complaining about how fucking humid it is. So
yeah, but don't do that. Don't do that because it's been a long winter. And
I don't mind the cold.
Okay, that's good. That's good. You know what? I don't even like the word. I don't like the syllables. I don't even like the letters used to put it all together. But I did practice this morning in shorts. The only guy.
There you
go. I'll take that in. I'd like to have another little shout out. First of all, to the Denver, Colorado fans who, just because both of their teams have game sevens on the same night, it's not fair to put their freaking games so close together. Don't you think that's weird? It's just because they're in the time zone they are, and they got to kiss ass to us people on the East Coast. So I want to shout out to all the Denver fans who were disrespected when it came to having their teams in the time space.
Well, it's just this unfortunate circumstance because they're the only games on each team's docket today. So, of course, they're going to put them near the 8 o'clock time slot. So hope you have 2 screens or something. I don't know. Picture in picture.
That's even worse. You know how much I hate that.
Yeah, picture in picture.
The bottom line is I just think it's like you'd be so glad that your teams are at this level of competition. And it could be shocking for Denver because in the morning they could have nothing.
That's true.
So I'm shouting out to...
I was going to say, I think one of the Denver, Colorado teams will be moving on, but we'll, of course, discuss that a little bit later in the show.
Okay, so we'll get back to it. Just out of respect to Denver fans. And one more shout out I wanted to have, because since we do a show and we always talk about the highest level of competition, and every day everybody's shouting out about this guy's the GOAT. Who's the GOAT? Why the GOAT? Do you have a GOAT? Do you like goat milk? I don't know. But anyways, Christopher Russo put this whole theory to bed, and anytime you have a GOAT conversation, and maybe you give me your opinion on this, but he said, a person on that level should be able to take over and dominate a game in all manners of the game, not based on one stat or one attribute. For example, someone said, how do you go about justifying a statement like that? And he so eloquently brought up the name Steph Curry. Do you think Steph Curry is a top 10 of all time? That's up in the air.
Top 10, probably.
Okay, you could argue that. Is he the greatest point guard of all time? Is another argument. However, there's also the guy that's considered the GOAT, and his name is Magic Johnson. And when you get down to it, it's not a matter of how old you are, what area you put in, is that Magic Johnson could score 3 points and dominate a game. I don't think you'd ever have Steph Curry score 3 points and say he has the ability to dominate a game. And when you look at it from that factor, I'm just saying Yeah, I'm going with it. If you're going to be a GOAT, that you got to dominate from all levels of the game at any given time, at any given space. That's not to take away from the fact that I do start to believe that Steph Curry is probably a top 15 player.
Isn't that a little bit of a straw man argument, though? Like, oh, if Curry does this, like, well, when has he ever scored 3 points in a game, first of all?
Okay, so well, there's a number of arguments you could get into on, but we've got too much show to do to get into a debate about this. I'm just thinking that, yeah, we should look at it like when Wayne Gretzky went on the floor, some nights he dominated on all levels. When Michael Jordan got on the floor, he dominated on all levels.
Gretzky was never really known for his physical play.
No, but he could back check and he'd be a plus minus on there. He'd be clever enough where he'd have to worry about that. He'd find other ways to dominate. You know what I mean? Like guys missing him or charging him and go in the box and then they score a penalty.
So is it dominating on all levels, or like so?
Like I mean, like you could have control of the game from different aspects. Like Gretzky doesn't have to score a goal and he could control that game. You know what I mean? I'm saying a guy like Steph Curry, if you're going to figure out that he's going to dominate a game, then you're going to say he's had 30 plus points or he did not dominate the game. That's what I'm getting at.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Any other shout-outs?
He might have a few assists or stuff like that, but I really start to believe like we should look at that. Like, so then someone will say, well, what about Tom Brady? Why is he the GOAT? He didn't even play defense. Different game, different sides of the ball, what you do with your circumstances to bring forth championship. Brady goes into the equation immediately, I think.
Sure. Any other shout-outs?
No, we're good.
All right, then we'll move this on to the one that, of course, we all want to talk about, the Stanley Cup Playoffs. The Toronto Maple Leafs move on to the second round for the second time in 3 years, taking care of the Ottawa Senators in 6 games, giving Leaf fans a little bit of a scare. I wasn't shaken, as you know. Obviously, good to see the Buds move on. What stood out to you about this series?
First of all, I want to shout out to the Toronto Maple Leaf fans that did not ask for Wall to start Game 6. I want to shout out to all the Leaf fans that said, hey, we're just going to go in there and win 4-1 and 4-2, because just because you guys aren't used to winning doesn't mean you can't talk confident. You know what I mean? So we got a whole series to go. And so here we go. Like we'll get to it in a second, but let's look what was going on here. You guys were clearly the favorites. You guys were clearly the better team. Let's give Ottawa all the props in the world for running on that gerbil screen track as hard as they could. But ultimately, you guys had the better team with the better players, and it showed, and you won. Okay? So I will take it one step further and say this. This is going to be a team win with your supposedly core 4 being identified as the guys you're going to give you there. If that's to be said, I thought that Matthews was the best player in the series. Bar everybody. You can point somebody out, anybody you want. Nobody played better than Matthews.
Well, that top line, I would take you, I'd go one step beyond that. Just say that top line was so dominant the whole series. They barely played their own defensive end.
There was a different types of hockey, which we will talk about along the way. But I'm just saying, if you look at all the metrics of hockey and how you can dominate in different ways, I would say that Matthews has been, to me, one of the better players I've seen in all the playoffs, including his plus minus. And oh, by the way, he had to be out there against the Kachuk line all the time.
Yes.
Who were a bunch of guys that thought they were going to bruise him off the table, which they didn't, which always goes to prove to you, which something you and I have been saying for a while, how valuable a real, genuine power forward is. And I'll call Nye a genuine 100% unadulterated power forward. You know what I mean?
Oh, and that burst he's got coming down, because skating was, I guess, circled as a little bit of his weak spot coming into the league. But boy, oh boy, he's that. Once he starts going, it's tough to stop that guy.
Not only that, no, I thought he's obviously been working on his skating, because his first 3 strides are better than what it used to be before.
Way better.
Yeah, so that he gets before it seems like it took him, he could get up to speed, but it might take him this long. But it seems now he knows to dig in those 1, 2, 3, bang, and he's on his way. Mm-hmm. He's not afraid to use the body. He keeps his head up. He gets traffic. Stuff bounces off him when they take the shots. Yeah, that's one of the number 1 lines in the league. However, at times, one of the things is why you guys didn't finish the game in 5s, and I think you're going to learn from it, is the fact that you're not going to get the perfect goal on the power play.
No.
Okay? That's what killed you with that 4-minute power play to Tavares, even though he couldn't get on the ice in the beginning because of protocols and all that. That's another story.
Well, my theory too about that 4-minute power play is like having Tavares like as the bumper guy missing in that situation. I think that really hurt because they put Riley out there in that situation, and in my opinion, it was too many guys that do their best work on the outside, and there wasn't that guy that's kind of step in the middle in that high slot, kind of to do a little bit of the dirty work in there.
Okay, and I will accept that too, but the other thing is you only got 3 shots in 4 minutes. So whatever you tell me, I'm going to shoot the fucking puck. That's my thing. You guys had one stretch, you moved the puck around for almost 40 seconds. 40 seconds. You had complete control of the puck, and I called it, what of that? You were doing the compulsories. So, well, when I've seen what other people do now, and I would go more like this, and you did do it more in Game 6, is you compulsories for maybe 35 seconds, and then you let the puck go. If it bounces off a guy's leg and goes out past the blue line, oh, well, that could happen. It could also bounce off a guy's ass and go into the net. Because in the series, you've seen a few of them goals on both sides, the Shabbat goal, or the Sanderson goal, the Benoit goal. Find it to a spot. Look at that beautiful goal that Matthews scored.
Yes.
That was
the opener in
shot.
Game 6, right?
Yes, where'd he do it? That was a curling shot. He's seen the opening. If he had shot that puck any other way, it would not have gone in the net. Exactly. You know what I mean? Which is just, another brilliance of a guy knowing that situation. You know what I mean? And first of all, and he could even see the screen the goalie had. So if he did it fast, the goalie could just butterfly because he can't panic. But because he didn't wind up and he just pushed it, by the time Allmark says, "Where is that?"
It was in the back of the net. Yeah.
It was already in there. So it was very, very, very good playing that way. And what I mean? Put the puck on the net. And everything's going, okay, well, we'll talk about the other ones. But I was, the thing that impressed me about the Leafs is their back end is solid. And I don't care, we said this last week or not, and I've been saying it out loud to some people, especially little people that are over 50, and they don't want to call it anything that Jacques Lemaire or Scotty Bowman invented, okay? Is that being polite?
So you're referring to the left-wing lock in the neutral zone trap.
Was I? Okay,
you said
maybe.
Lemaire and Bowman.
Anyways, we all agreed on this. It's your transition out of that makes you a better team.
Yes.
Like it's not like that. That's why you got to think about it. And a couple guys go really bad because what you do is you don't make it stale, and you can't really have that anymore because there's no center ice line. Mm-hmm. So you can't have a true, that's why they took it out. So you can't really have those kind of defenses, but you can come up the ice in that formation. It's how you break out of it, I think. I'm not a hockey expert, but you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because
we called it the hybrid trap last week.
Whatever that we're calling. But when you guys transition out of that, you get high scoring chances. You know what I mean? Yes. Like the breaks to the net are really, really good, but you keep your end tight where the other team doesn't get as many because there's got to be something for said with those stretches where Ottawa didn't get a shot and goal for 8 minutes one time, 10 minutes another time in the course of this series.
Yep.
That's gee. And then what ended up happening? You get a goal off the back of Stolar's head to tie it in Game 6, and the guys of hockey said, "No, you guys put him away. That's stupid. We can't let that happen." And here you are in the second round.
Well, that's the thing. Like they had those stretches, but like in previous years, like I think I said this last week as well. Like the Leafs would have crumbled in a lot of these situations, but then like you have a confident man behind the bench. You got the goalie. You have the defense, and these guys just trusted the process and believed in themselves. As cheesy as that sounds, that's what they did.
Oh, no, and not only that, they turned it up a notch because they're a better team. And one of the things that I will harp on, again, just for a quick time, is now that they call it the identity line, what are they calling it? You're not calling it a fourth line anymore, whatever you're calling it. Because, like I said before, I was, tad negative, not negative on, why'd you get this Lawton guy?
Where did we get him?
No, why?
Why? Center depth, you want a good two-way guy that can kill penalties. Came up with that big block shot at the end of Game 6.
Okay, I'll take it one step further. So I will allude to this. And I said, well, worst case scenario, he'd be a good fourth-line guy. And you said you shouldn't trade prospects for a fourth-line guy.
I didn't say that.
Is he a fourth-line guy now? What?
I never said that.
You said that he's not. He will end up on the fourth line. And I said, I don't know. if he's the best fourth line center in the playoffs. What are you bitching about? They've been
I
a great
agreed
line.
with you on that. I agreed
Yes,
with you on
you have
that.
to look at there, and even more now that they're playing Florida, that line has to play even more like that.
Yes.
They can't take it away, because I think that even though, well, we'll get to that in a minute, I think in the front end, what we'll talk about is that you guys skate enough that this Florida-Toronto series is going to be quite interesting.
I 100% think. Let's not jump the gun on that, though. A few more things to kind of wrap up this Toronto-Ottawa series.
Go ahead. There's a few things, yeah.
So, first of all, we talked about giving props to some of these Ottawa guys. Jake Sanderson's a star.
Oh, yeah.
Already.
No. He's already, no. He carried his weight. He carried his weight, and he played as hard as he could, okay? And he got the puck up the ice. I really like him a lot. What you guys did is that you got to remember, you guys are skating as hard, and you were, like, taking away by the time he got to your blue line, his options were usually taken away by the defense you guys are playing.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. But he had nothing to lose. And he started shooting the puck from all over the place, too. Yeah. Once he realized, like, when desperation came, I love the way he plays. He's American, isn't he?
He is.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
But didn't we see him? Well, he did play a couple games. Remember, late in the Four Nations.
I believe so.
You know what I mean? Which was a lot of people said was a confidence builder to him, and he doesn't have a ton of NHL playoff experience.
Yeah.
So as the saying goes, no, he's the real deal.
He was left off the Four Nations team. My bad.
What's that?
He was left off the Four Nation team.
I thought he came out and played that one game when they got sick. Remember they said they had a couple guys sick? Yeah, didn't he come? Wasn't that him that played?
Let me check here quickly.
Something like that. I don't know. It could be my imagination. But anyways, or was it the guy from Minnesota? Could have been. We're mixing them up.
Oh, no. Yeah, Sanderson did. Yeah, he was an injury replacement. You're right. Yeah,
I thought, and they said that was a confidence builder for him to play in such a high level.
Well, I don't know about the confidence builder so much. I think that he was already kind of on that trajectory.
Oh, no doubt about it. It's just that we got to see him every night, and you realize, hey, man, when you see somebody every night, you can tell, hey, that guy's the real deal. You know what I mean? Long career ahead.
I would not be surprised if a Norris Trophy is in this man's future.
Oh, no, that's a realistic possibility, and something that my team and your team's going to have to deal with probably for the next 10 years.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Very, very good players. I think the core of all of Ottawa is pretty solid. They got Shabbat, they got Kachuk, they got Stutzel. Who am I missing? Another winger that's pretty damn good. At their age, I think that they, you know what I mean? The big question is now, which makes things so competitive, is that what teams are going to step back? I think we already brought that up. In the way that Montreal stepped in, Ottawa made their first appearance in years, and the name of the game is how do you sustain it?
Yes.
You know what I mean? So that's it. What's that?
No, I was going to say, Ottawa looks like they're pretty well built for the future. I mean, it's still early, but I don't picture this team missing the playoffs next year.
I hate to say it, but I think that like out of the two Canadian teams that went out in the first round, the one most likely not to make it next year, probably people would point at the Habs.
Again, it's still so early in the offseason. It's not even the offseason yet, technically. So let's put a cork in that for now.
Yeah, I know, but it's already coming to mind how quickly things go, and you start thinking about, wow, we got this far. So if you don't think about next year, then you don't want to be a winning organization.
Yeah.
But like we were saying, look who did make the playoffs, and what are they thinking? So the competition level never goes away.
Absolutely,
basically.
Absolutely,
never goes away. Never.
What was I going to say next? So Pacioretty obviously had a big game. Game 6. You still disagree that he shouldn't have been in the lineup?
Because you know what? Obviously, Robertson's not a Berube guy. It's just one of those things. Robertson's going to have to live with it. He does some ditzy doodle stuff on the ice. He took that horrible penalty at the end of game 2 that cost him his spot. He can't live that down because Berube, all the guys that play hockey, all the guys that know Chief, all the people said, they all say something. Robertson's on the base bench because he's not playing Berube hockey. Not that Robertson's a bad guy. He just sometimes, I don't know. I think he'd be better on there because he just shoots the puck more. And that's the problem these playoffs. You got to shoot the puck.
How can you say he's going to be better than Pacioretty when he ended up being the hero of the game, though?
Robertson could have been there. Anyone could have been there. Right place, right time.
I think Pacioretty's experience was key in this situation, though. And he was hungry. He hadn't played in 3 months.
So Evander Kane scored a couple goals too. They all got a hard on. I'll give him the benefit of it.
And Evander Kane's been important for the Oilers.
Okay, so I'll give it a benefit of a doubt. I'm not saying, but I don't think that Pacioretty was appreciably better in the lineup than they had Robertson. He was out there at the right place at the right time. I think it was more of this. Domi showing that he's got somehow a light to be out there in some key situation when goals are scored, because who got Pacioretty the puck?
Well, sure.
So you know what I mean? And Domi's already scored an overtime goal. So his antenna's way up. You know what I'm saying for the playoffs? He's up. Even though they tried to muscle him off the puck, I thought in Game 5 and Game 6 they got off it. Like they were trying to hit him first. You know what I mean? And you notice in some games, like all of a sudden that guy's out there and everybody's like making, okay, that guy, you know that guy's going to hit us, let's hit him first kind of mentality.
Yep.
I noticed that in about Game 5 and 6 that guys were taking that extra little freaking chop at Domi and shit like that, which leads to another thing which I'm going to gripe about for the whole playoffs is call the penalties all the time or just fucking let them go with clubs. Because what are we to believe? What are we to believe? You've seen some shit in this series that you got to tell me. Come on, man.
Oh,
Playoff hockey. Some of it you just got to go, come on, what are we supposed to believe? You cannot tackle frickin' Nylander and take him out of bounds and not call that penalty. I don't give a shit what it is. That's the one of the most egregious ones. And, like, again, Marner getting the cross-check in the face.
Yep.
Nothing. That's insane. Now, what's his name? Olin Larson got away with a couple behind the net that looked like slew foots. But I think those are the ones you kind of got to let slide when you're late in the game because they didn't call them both on both ends. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, all throughout the playoffs, there's been some weird calls or non-calls, I guess, as well.
And every series, I see shit and I go, what? Really? And then, you know me with the PVR, I rewind it about 3 times and I go, no. Or I rewound it and I go, they didn't call that. What? They didn't call that? You know, you do those kind of things, but what are you going to say? Has it been even? I'll tell you what it's really been. Teams are so freaking disciplined, they're not taking enough penalties to make it a big deal. Like, there's no game there's been too much penalties for one team or the other, because some teams, like I was pointing out last week, and the trend has continued, sometimes there's only like 8 minutes of penalties in a game.
Well, one of the Leaf Ottawa games, there was a big discrepancy, though, in penalties called.
Was there?
Yeah, I think it was Game 3 that Toronto had. I'm going to double check here, but I think it was Game 3 that Toronto got called for 5 and Ottawa only got called for 1.
I think that was Game 4.
Was it Game 4?
I think that was Game 4, and okay, Ottawa, you're going to get you know what I mean? You're going to get your gentlemen's whatever, and you ended up getting an extra home game out of it anyway. So what's his name? The owner's name? Be happy. You got an extra gate. All the Toronto fans came and filled it out. You got some extra money. Shut the front door. Go back to free agents, and you do what you do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know if that sounds rude, but I mean, the game you were talking about, is that the game where Marner took that incidental one beside the boards where the guy knocked him over and Marner turned around and kind of hit his legs? The guy went down, they called a penalty?
Yeah, basically.
That one, because then that's the other extreme. See, I didn't understand that when Marner, I think if you check, Marner got 1 penalty. And when you look at the replay, all the other shit that you see going on. But here's the other thing. When was that penalty called? 18 minutes of the first period, but Toronto was getting some momentum up at that time, at that 18-minute mark. You call that cheesy-ass penalty. It takes away from the momentum. Now it's first intermission, and you got to start all over again. You know what I mean? It's when's the penalty get called?
Yeah.
Sometimes I notice that. It's just weird. I don't know. I don't think anything's going to change. Do you?
No, of course not.
And
why would it?
The thing, but here's the thing is that they're not differentiating against if you're McJesus or McNobody. You know what I mean? Like,
wasn't that a good thing?
That's about the only level playing field that I can get out of it. You know what I mean? When they fuck up and they don't call it on nobody.
Mm-hmm.
But then you'll get the Marner call. That's what I'm saying. It's just I don't know. I'm glad I haven't got a lot of money betting these games, because I bet you gamblers are going through the roof when they see some of this shit going on. You know what you can tell by? It's some of the crowds. And they're in the building. You hear some of the crowds sometimes when some of these plays go down?
Yeah,
The most egregious one, there's a fucking roar in the house. When it's that loud, that means a lot of people are going, they're not just drinking beer and talking on their phone. They're going, what the fuck just happened there? You know what I mean?
I mean, you got to take that stuff with a grain of salt, though. especially with the alcohol in the crowd.
Well, okay, well, Molson's always been a great hype man.
Yeah, that's absolutely.
You know what I mean? Whether you like it or not.
Still looking for a sponsor, so Molson, come on.
Yes, we'll be nice to you. One of the things that I like about coming up is like the little things that get brought up along the way. And I just want you to know, because you don't watch that network too often, Simone Benoit got talked about on NHL Network.
Makes sense.
You know what I mean? Yeah, they are. Yeah, well, of course it makes sense. But they were talking to him like in the vein that you were saying. Where did he come from? He could be doing this. He could. The next thing you know, in Toronto, he's going to have a restaurant named after him.
Yeah.
And I'm happy for the guy, and I'm happy the way he's playing. He can't quit playing the way he's playing like that, because here comes Florida.
Well, he's a Berube favorite. Let's be honest.
Oh, because you know what? He doesn't play like frickin' Sandin. That Sandin guy.
Yeah.
What about the difference? That's just as simple as there. Okay, that's how it boils down to. And all due respect to Mr. Berube, because he puts teams together a certain way, they seem to win. Right.
Right.
That's how I'm going to look at it. I just think they got to stay together. I've been watching very closely in the playoffs. I think that the Tanev McCabe duo is as good as any duo I've seen in the playoffs, including Makar and his buddy, including Farber and his buddy. The two guys.
Faber, we'll get to him a little bit later.
Yeah, but we'll get to all of that. But you know what I'm saying? You guys got a lot of attributes that are going to say you're not going to get pushed around. I don't think Florida's going to come out and do some shit. Now, do I think that, we should get on to the other series we talk about. Do you think that you're going to have to stand up to a lot of fucking nonsense?
Well, we'll talk about the Leafs-Panthers series later. Well, let's get through the first round first. One thing I want to rant about is also the stupid stats about series clinching games for the Leafs. Like, you either win the series or you don't at the end of the day. Like, there's like, this 2-13, 1-13. Like, that's such nonsense.
What? Well, why does it, as a guy that comes from analytics, does that hurt your feelings because they say it? It's just a stat.
It's not about hurting my feelings.
It's just a stat. Don't they show too many? I told you they put too many.
It's a dumb stat. We're being objective here.
Well, I'm trying to be too. I'm going, I remember that. Yeah, Toronto lost a lot in those games, haven't they? Oh, yeah. Okay, I get it. Sure.
You win the series or you don't. That's the important stat.
That's the important stat. So,
this is just the media we're looking for ways to dunk on the Leafs. Let's be honest.
Oh, gee, you think?
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so let's get a realistic point of view, because we live in the heart of this. Do you know that there's places in this country where the hate for the Toronto Maple Leafs is probably more than for Beelzebub? You know that. So some of these people that I think that are on some of these networks at times come up with these things just to frickin' do that. So I just say how the fan reaction, I would look the other way. Fuck you. So what? That's yesterday. Next.
That's what I just said.
Yeah, no sense talking. Keep on walking. Let's go.
Yeah. I will just wrap up this series by saying looking forward to many more Battles of Ontario for years to come, and more cringy chants by the Sens fans.
Are you going to miss those guys like 67 or the Leafs suck, the guys that were stupid enough to buy the jerseys?
Oh, no, bring it on. Spend your hard-earned money on that nonsense. Okay,
so that when we get to the end of the playoffs, the most ridiculous things that we have seen, that right now is like number one with a bullet, right? Okay, that's how we'll look at that. Okay, continue on. We're going to have more to say about Toronto when we get to the previews. We'll go to the next series, which is the biggest fall-down series of the whole frickin' one of them in the playoffs, is this Tampa Bay, Florida thing.
Tampa Bay frauds.
Okay, full disclosure here, and I've said it, that Mr. Andrew Mullaney has learned from the Cruz's Chaos School of Haters how to be a hater, because you're happy just because you full on hate Tampa Bay. So you should just say that. The fact that you should hate on them this year even more is because they
I hate on them because they're overrated and everyone likes to suck their dick when it's not warranted. It drives me crazy. Okay, yes, they had a good run 3 years ago. That ended. They have not been able to recover. They've looked like garbage since. They've had some moments. Like Vasilevsky had a great regular season when he's not playing the Leafs.
Okay, I'm going to say all of that there, but they did make the playoffs and they did play Florida in the first round. The thing is that you'll be able to talk about it next year because you have to be careful about your hate for Tampa Bay, because when we talk about why you hate Tampa Bay, I can say, well, at the beginning of the season, Andrew, you don't think that Kucherov is a top 5 player in the NHL? Fuck off, Cruz. That guy's done. He's no good. Plays for Tampa.
I never said that.
I'm getting, when I win the lottery tonight, I'm getting a personal assistant that's going to go back and go through all our shows, because I'm trying to do it to find the shows where we have certain quotes. And I listen to some of the things I've said and I go, oh, Cruz, how did you delete that? Fuck, that was bad. Okay.
You can't.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. So I'm out there too to be exposed. However, at times, like I said, you crucified Kucherov. Come on, bro.
I wouldn't say I crucified Kucherov.
You would not put him in the top 5 in the league, and I said, wow. You said maybe top 10, maybe top 15. I'm going to
wow,
Kucherov.
Such an insult. He's a top 10 player in the league. Wow. And you're saying I'm sensitive.
No, I don't really care. I was just wondering, like, your object hate for this man when he just won the Art Ross, because I'm not a big fan of the guy. I'm just going, motherfucker's good, whether you like it or not.
Good.
You know, but
he's going straight to the Hall of Fame. Let's be honest.
He should, with all his antics and for all the reasons, I could probably figure out why you don't like him. I know you well enough to figure out why you don't like him, but that's not the point. My point was, like, he's still a top 5 player in the NHL. When the 2024 or 25 season started, I was saying he's a top 5 player in the league. You said no. And he won the Art Ross Trophy. So you got to give him a little bit of props there. You know what I mean?
Which I did.
I just don't know what happened to all the other high-priced talent like the Gensos and Hagel.
Well, I think Gensel was actually their best player this series, but Hagel disappeared. He was pointless this entire series. I don't know if he was hampered by some of the physical play that happened in this series or what, but...
And then when he deserved the suspension.
I agree.
And another thing is I think that the lower end of the defensemen after Hedman and even McDonough got exposed a bit here is that they're slowing down a bit. They're going to have to find a way to get their back end. But what got me is sometimes the Gensels and the Braden Points, they didn't hit back enough. They're big boys. You know what I mean? They were ducking under cover and looking for the extra pass. They were looking to do that breakout play, and Florida's coming at him like trains, and Marchand was being the vermin that he was, and now he's got a sidekick in Sam Bennett. That should be illegal right there. You know what I mean? So they take everybody off their game, just calling them names and poking them. You see some of this shit that now you got to put up with 2 of those schmucks. And you know what I always...
Well, you add Kachuk in there for a third.
Oh, and he scores goals though. Even though Marchand's been freaking, maybe he's rejuvenated a bit. He's looked a little better defensively than he's looked in the last 20 games for the Bruins. Maybe that's why they rested him all that time and got him ready for the playoffs. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
Well, he's not asked to do as much anymore. He's a third line guy in Florida.
Yeah, but he's a very good guy to have in your third line, and that's what I'm saying.
And the second power play, agreed.
And those guys are constantly like, someone's gonna. That's why I don't like the whole playoff hockey too. Why doesn't someone just knock one of those guys out? Tell the PK, okay, we got to take some. We got to shut this guy up. Bang. And then, you know what I mean? I'll make them think twice when there's no retribution for your stupidity. But the thing is, you're supposed to skate and score so you can ignore what that person's saying. But those guys do some borderline dirty ass shit.
Yeah.
And they're chirping at the same time. Me, I'd be going to the box for sure. I'd be going to the box. I'd be taking the Josh Anderson things into my own hands. That's why Anderson went to the box a few times in the Habs series, because he didn't give a fuck. Let's just, you know what I mean? We got to go back at you, because when you start retreating, you're done.
Yep.
This is the NHL. I've seen Braden Point go in the corner a couple of times, pull the puck out a couple of times. Guys are hitting him, and he's going in the corner, and he's already looking over his shoulder. I know you got to look over your shoulders, but there's 2 ways to be looking over your shoulder. One, looking for see if somebody in front of the net, or is someone going to hit me? He had that looking over his shoulder sometimes for is someone going to hit me look.
Yeah, and there's not those guys to defend him like, I guess, those cup-winning teams and the team that made the finals a couple of years ago. Like you said, Hedman and some of those other guys are slowing down. They brought in, like, Moser to kind of, I guess, offside a little bit, but, like, they brought in McDonough, too, so it's kind of like chopping off your hand to give yourself a hand kind of thing.
Okay, don't they have Geeky, too?
Yeah,
Okay, he didn't. He was supposed to be one of those guys that up the ante on, like, not that he's a super tough guy, but he can play in the tough type of hockey. He was supposed to be one of those guys. I didn't see too much of him.
No.
I didn't see him skating around. And then when they traded for him, he was supposed to be one of those guys that give you that, But who's the other guy they traded for that he didn't give him that little...
Oh, Yanni Gord.
Yeah, Yanni Gord, another guy that was supposed to give him that extra little bit of sandpaper. The sandpaper that Toronto's getting at a lot. Is that a good comparison?
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, you all got these players for this factor, that factor. Toronto's getting value for their factor. I don't think Tampa Bay got value for theirs.
No. But we're kind of bearing the lead here with Tampa Bay. They lost all 3 games at home.
Number one.
And that, whatever, Emily Arena, whatever it's called, that's supposed to be like their big home ice advantage. And they got nothing. They got blown out one of the games, 2 of the games there, right?
Well, one was really blown out. They were getting beat anyway. Then they pulled the goalie too soon, and there was too many.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? But there was another thing too, is that when you look at some of the statistics, they got these great boards that you can set up on ESPN when you're just looking over, and you look at sometimes the games like how many shots on goal were here. Well, sometimes the shots on goal were even, but then Florida hit you 20 more times than you hit them. Or what does your power play do? Or what was your percentage on goal? And if you look at a lot of the metrics, Tampa Bay's are brutal on too many areas. Or you're not going to win playing like that. That's like playing like a team that missed the playoffs numbers. And all of a sudden you can't. If you're doing that against Florida, what? You're gone home. You are gone home.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So it's a real step back for them now. Because I wasn't ready to concede all that. I mean, Florida, last 2 seasons, you're going, Tampa Bay's done Tampa. I go, no, I think they can hang in there. After this one, they're going to be the ones, but they got the talent up front. All those guys we mentioned, they got all score 30 goals next year. Every one of them.
Tampa Bay?
They? Yeah, but are they?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Are they? You know what I mean? So bye-bye Tampa Bay. I don't feel sorry for them, but like you said, man, they fell down hard.
Yeah, they did. And the big one was in Game 4, the 2 goals in 12 seconds by Ekblad and Jones. Tampa Bay was looking like they were going to tie up that series, and then that was the real the turning point right there.
Okay, so who do you think was more valuable to their team? Matthews for Toronto or Barkov for Florida?
I mean, it's tough for me to really say. I didn't watch that Tampa Bay series as closely, so I'm probably just going to say Matthews because I'm biased.
Oh, yeah, you could say there was a little bit more, but, man, you notice Barkov out there all the time.
Of course.
Guy is – remember I said maybe he shouldn't be the Selke? He does, but he does a little – he doesn't have – well, you got to – of course, the big separation is the offensive skill that Matthews has over him. And sometimes Barkov hits a little bit more, but not enough. Barkov's just good going corner, digging the puck and getting in the way and not getting knocked off the puck. Like him getting hit by Hagel like that was just because Hagel got sick of this guy fucking him over. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like he just said, this guy, you know what? But Barkov was just, and Barkov takes it to the limit too. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Got to remember that. He takes it to the limit. And who does he usually have on his line?
He plays with Kachuk.
Oh, geez.
Actually, no, he's playing with Verhaeghe and Reinhart right now mostly.
Oh, yeah. He is. But you know what? Those two guys aren't afraid to get, I'll take Verhaeghe any type of the year. He's like your basic power forward. He's not afraid of shit. He's going to hit everything in sight. You know what I mean? So you got a freedom on your line when you're doing that. And the other times, the guys you send out there, you send like this Bennett guy is another guy. Like Toronto should seriously think about getting him in the off season because he's going to be a free agent.
Yeah.
Like they'll be like, this is this guy's one chance to make some money because he's 29 years old?
They're about.
Whatever, he's going to get 5 years at good money. He's earned it because nobody wanted to give him that kind of money. But he's going to be one of those dudes now that he's getting the contract at the right place at the right time in his career, that he's going to make a little bit more than he originally planned. And God bless him.
He's 28 years old.
28 years old.
This is a big chance.
There's this big chance. And I think someone's going to pay him like 7 or 8.
Actually, he's going to be 29 in June. So, yeah, there you go.
29. So what are they going to pay? Someone's going to pay him 8?
I don't know, 8. I mean, it also depends on the length of the contract as well. But he's going to get good money.
Oh, yeah, more money than we would have thought of, say, 2 years ago.
Of course.
When he was in the middle of this contract. You go, well, what's his next contract going to look like? He kept his stock rising, along with the going to the finals and winning a Stanley Cup and still playing as we speak right now.
Yeah, the contract, the cap number is probably going to begin with at least a 7.
Oh, I can't. I'm saying that he's in the right place at the right time with the salary cap going up. Someone's going to offer him 8. What I say about the sport that really makes me go weird sometimes is, where do you go when you take the 8? I hope we get to see the Montour guy again, because he's a really good hockey player, and he took the money and went to Seattle. He disappeared off the face of the earth, not because he wasn't good, but because
he took the money.
He was in Seattle. He was playing great. Maybe we should have made a team. I thought he should have made Team USA or whatever. He's just a good hockey. Team Canada. Yeah, he's just a great hockey player. But when you get lost in space, so I'm saying Bennett, I hope he's not one of those guys that takes the money and goes somewhere we won't see him, because then we don't get to see him in the playoffs and shit. I guess that's selfish on my part. And I don't really like the guy. I just like seeing competitive hockey and guys like that.
We'll have tons of time to discuss off-season stuff later on. We need to keep this show moving. Chuck says it's not really a rivalry after the series was over. I thought that was really interesting, although he did miss the years that Tampa Bay beat up on Florida, so I guess I can understand why he has that perspective.
Well, what's the series? I think Florida's now Tampa Bay's still winning in series wins, right?
Okay, but he wasn't there for any of those series that Tampa Bay beat them. The only series he's played Tampa Bay, they wiped the floor with them. Exactly.
Okay, so it's a different perspective on his part. Exactly. And guess what? It ain't bragging when you're backing it up.
I agree.
So that's all he was doing. And by the way, when they're in my house, Jimmy, this is what happened. Can't deny it.
John Cooper,
Tampa Bay going out so easy.
Yeah. John Cooper is apparently staying put in Tampa Bay, though. I know there were some rumors about him going to Utah because I guess he has a connection to Ryan Smith, but he's got kids in high school apparently still in Tampa, so it looks like he's going to be staying put there for at least the time being.
Yeah, once his kids are out of high school, then he'll think about it.
Exactly.
That's the family first.
So we'll move us from the Atlantic over to the Metropolitan, where the Washington Capitals beat your Montreal Canadiens 5-1. For me, the turning point of this series was Montembeault coming out of this series for Dubs. Not that he was bad or anything. In fact, he probably saved your season, but tough to replace a goalie like Montembeault the way he was going.
I agree, but that it bodes well for the future that kid came in and played like that.
Yeah,
I think I mentioned last time. Did you hear him after the game what he said about himself?
Yeah,
I'm excited. I'm freaking scared. I'm losing my mind. I'm like, you know what I mean? Like 3 million tons of different emotions that you're supposed to get maybe once a year over a course of a year, and he had them all in a 10-second time to calibrate that. And as good as he played, he kept us into the game too. And in game 5, he kept us in there.
Yeah.
When they got up 2-0, there was at least 4 or 5 times that it could have gone 3 or 4-0, and he came up with the big saves. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I'm just proud that we got to where we were. We were a little bit, we weren't supposed to win, but we went down without a fight. I thought there was a few circumstances that didn't go our way, but then again, that's just hockey, and there's no sense talking about it now because it's happened to any team. But we were there. We got a chance the overtime game. We let up a couple of goals at the wrong time. Montembeault could have been the difference, but the bottom line is this. Bro, what was the problem in Montreal all season? Can't score.
Yep. And that snuck up on you guys again.
God, that's again. You can play your ass off. You go as hard as you can. And our first line played well against their first line, and we did okay. But we didn't get the big goal at the right moment, and we go home.
You know what this series kind of reminded me of? When 2017, when the Leafs played Washington, basically in the same scenario. Washington was the number 1 seed. The Leafs just snuck into the playoff as that final wild card. And like you guys played Washington hard. It's just like in that Leaf series, there were those moments that kind of like got the Leafs through where like they won 2 games. 5 of the 6 games went to overtime there. I just feel like Montreal did not have some of those lucky breaks. I mean, losing the goalie, number 1, obviously. Game 1 in overtime, I feel like you guys should have had that one. That game 4 loss is a little bit haunting as well. You guys went into the third period with the lead.
Yes, that was a killer one right there.
Yep.
We got a couple of questionable calls at the wrong time, sometimes in their house, which is, I can't say a lot about it. But here's our one big mistake. We should have taken line A. He shouldn't have played in the series.
He only played like the first 2 games?
What?
He only played games 1 and 2, right?
He played the first 3.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he shouldn't have played at all.
Well, I mean, you weren't going to scratch him game 1. That's the problem. No, he only played games 1 and 2, by the way. Just games 1 and 2.
Okay, power play and special teams have been huge in these playoffs. Huge for Ottawa, stealing those couple of shorthanded goals that changed momentum in games against you guys. Can't forget about that.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, that's how tight it is on the power plays and shit like that, okay? What we do on the power play, we're trying to get that big shot to Laine. Everybody and their brother knew you were doing it. Washington overloaded to the side. Laine couldn't get a shot off. We'd be doing that for what? Oh, a minute, 10 minutes, 20 seconds of the freaking power play trying to get it to him. And when we didn't get it to him, he crawled back to the bench. Yeah. Come on. The guy, he was a real down spot. Like, if we could have had a player with half that energy, with double his energy, which was easy to come by the way you've seen him playing, then we could have had other guys in there, like, you know what I mean? Energizer guys that are going to go up and down the wing anyway and check. Did this guy even get inside his own blue line? Oh, yes, he did. He fell down. The puck bounced off him. They called it icing. Then he had to stay on the ice, and they scored the goal in overtime. We lost. Remember?
Yep.
Who was on the ice? Laine falling down because he couldn't go backwards anymore. I don't know what's with this guy. If you remember, I wasn't overly hyped when we got him.
I remember.
I wasn't overly hyped. I go, let's see what this guy do. And then what did I kept saying? Oh, he's power play goals. And I kept saying, well, I wish he would do something on 5 and 5. Or I would say, I hope he learns how to back check.
Why do you think he never stuck around in Winnipeg?
But I mean, you know me. I wasn't freaking jumping on the guy's bandwagon. I was saying I was hoping for the best.
Yep.
He gave me less. Oh, he got 8 power play goals. Oh, he got 50. The guy never got in his own zone. He couldn't. And we got him for one more year. Oh, now they're saying he might have had an injury. What? To his brain? What,
no. Well, people did see him walking around with like whatever. I don't remember if it was like a walking boot or what, but someone was like, he is injured.
I hope he comes back next year from the beginning of the season with no injury, because remember, he always had that knee problem.
And he got injured in the preseason against the Leafs. Was it Riley that?
All that shit. So now let's go. Now, buddy, go get some conditioning and come to camp and show us your best 27-year-old guy that you're going to be.
Yeah, come motivated in a contract year of all things.
And not only that, you're a big boy. Look at that guy's got Frank Mahovlich strides. Your mom would know what I was saying. Maybe. I don't know.
My
but anyway,
that guy, maybe.
Okay, but anyway, he's got those strides. He can fly. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And he's got a great shot. What does he do with it? Come on. That hurt us in a lot of ways. I want to shout out to the guys like Brendan Gallagher, though, and the Josh Andersons. And you know what I mean? These guys just freaking... They're the guys you need as your role players. We've only got one line in front of them. Maybe in the future, because we got a lot of young guys, we can form 6 guys in front of them, because they both got a year left on their contract. They're the guys that's going to push us over the line if we make the playoffs next year. You know what I mean? With the younger guys, because we're going to have that veteran presence that's going to be there. I hope we get rid of Matheson. Savard's gone, but that's another story.
Well, I think Matheson's going to stay around for at least one more year. I think you guys are going to take a big swing in the offseason, probably at forward. And you guys are going to have around $26 million in cap space left to play with. Although Heineman, Struble, and Dobbs are all going to be RFAs, so you're going to be left with about $20 million to sign 3 forwards and a defenseman.
Yeah, because we're not going to be spending a lot of money on that Dobbs guy, because he hasn't proven enough to get any.
No, well, between those 3 RFAs, it's probably going to be under around $5.5, $6 million.
To keep all 3 of those guys, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're still in pretty good shape. We got plenty of money to run a front-term guy, but like you said, we'll talk about that later. We should continue on with why Washington.
Well, hold on, just one more thing about Washington. Dylan Strome, no one was talking about him, but he was unreal for the Capitals this series. 9 points in the 5 games, I believe. Yeah, 9 points. And Tom Wilson is just a beast.
No, I was going to get back to that. Dylan Strome was easily, every night, could have been the best player on the ice for both teams on a number of occasions. He was really, really good. Our number one line was really good, but when push comes to shove, sometimes we were more neutralized, you know what I mean, with our size, but we didn't get pushed up, but we tried hard enough. But no, Dylan Strome was there. Ovi played as good as a 39-year-old guy is going to do up and down the ring, twice as good as Laine is ever going to think about. He should look over him not. And the couple guys, the top 4 defensemen on Washington are pretty solid, I think.
100%.
You know what I mean?
100%.
The top 4 guys, they they're not always. That's what it's going to be saying. It's going to be interesting because now they're going to play Carolina,
Yes.
which we'll get to, which is an interesting thing because that means that they're going to be if they get past, they're going to be haven't played that crazy physical Florida type team yet.
Yep.
And that's about the only team that plays that physical. Toronto plays more physical than people realize, don't you think?
I agree. Well, we talked about that. Let's move on to the next series. So, Carolina versus New Jersey. So before we get into that, Taylor Hall, it got announced a few days ago that he signed a 3-year extension to stay in Carolina for just over $3 million. I think that's a pretty good deal for them.
I think so too.
Yeah. Anderson,
and how old?
Kochetkov.
He's only what, 33?
Let me do some quick math. No, I think he's like 34, 35.
In any event, for the skill that I've seen him play with, 3 years at $3 million a year, that's solid.
He's going to be 34 in November.
Okay, 34, yeah. Starting the season at 33, yeah. That's good money for him at that thing. And if he ends up being in the third year, your fourth line center playing solid, that's still good at that money.
That's fine.
Yep. Yeah, good contract for both sides.
So one of the big things about this series was Carolina's goaltending. So when Anderson went down, well, I guess when Anderson does go down, they do not look as good. Kochetkov has been a little bit of a nightmare for this team. Although Anderson will be back for the next round.
That's what they're saying, and I hope he's 100% because one thing I do have to give them credit for. Okay, one thing you have to say, no matter what they're going to tell you, is the fact that Carolina really showed some freaking stones when they gave up those 3 goals to the Devils right off the hop. You know what I mean? They were down 3-0. Like, what was it? I don't know. I think I got the box score here, but they had that was this game. They had the balls to dig in for the goalie because he did let in a couple of suspect goals.
Yeah.
But look, the game went to double overtime.
So this is the only series to go to double overtime, and they did it twice. Yeah.
So are we saying that New Jersey is that close in being there? No, it's just saying that both teams don't know how to fucking score.
Yeah, and although 7 Devils players who played in 3 or more games this series were held pointless, including Thomas Tatar.
No kidding. And you know what? Carolina just has enough offense, but their back end is like, to me, they're one of the tightest of all the teams I've seen in the playoffs.
Agreed.
Like, their style of play, like they play, their back end is super, super tight, which it makes more doing that possession game because those guys are blocking everything too. They're throwing their bodies because they got 6 big guys. If you we should get their lineup right here, but if you look at their defense.
Yeah, Slavin, Burns, Orlov, Chatfield, Gostisbehere, and Walker.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, again, thank you very much.
All those guys except for Gostisbehere are pretty big.
Yeah, all of them are like good size, and they stay in front of the net, and they hit everything. The only thing about it is maybe it's me because I watched a bit of the series. The pace of those games at times didn't seem to get as fast as pace as the other ones. Is that because of the defense? I found that.
Yeah, I think that's Carolina implementing their style of play in there. They're like, no, we're not opening it up here today, boys.
No, and they play a tighter left wing lock than Toronto.
They play Rod Brindamore hockey.
Yes, they do, and it's super tight when they do it. But then when you need the goal, that's why it's forever in overtime. Because if you've seen, like especially the first overtime, I thought Carolina should have fucking put them away about 4 or 5 times.
Well, we talked about this. Don't have that star power. We thought Svechnikov might be that guy. I know he had a big goal this series, but he never really developed into that guy. Aho, he's kind of like in the same category. Like he's not quite a superstar. He's like a step below. No disrespect to the guy.
What?
No disrespect to the guy. Like if he played in like Toronto or New York, he'd be huge.
Okay, so but then when you think about it, you know how much Carolina, if they had that number 1 goal scorer, how it would go? Because remember, even though they had double overtime, Carolina had 54 shots on goal. Jersey only had 30 something.
Yeah,
that's an extra period in which you were playing, and you only got 35 shots or something.
That's insane.
Fucking Carolina got 54, so I was just telling you they were going there. Markstrom had a good game, but they don't have the guy. They like you have to say they hit a lot of crap.
Yeah,
they hit a lot of crap. So, but in any event, I think that's going to impair them in the next series because I don't think there's really anything else to say about this series. We all expected Carolina to win it. I don't think that Jersey was that competitive. I just thought Markstrom had a couple of good games to get him to overtime.
Hold on. You said it was going to be Carolina in 7 though, so you were giving a little bit of credit to New Jersey coming in.
Okay, but then when I seen the lineup to start the series, they were missing 3 other guys that I wasn't expecting them to be missing. And then 3 more guys went down during the course of the first 2 games. They were done. They didn't have the depth. They hung in there. Markstrom, a guy that you don't give a lot of credit to, I think he kept them in this a lot of the time.
Yeah, he was good.
You know what I mean? He's up there. And look at that. One of the Hughes guys only played, what, 2 games?
Luke Hughes,
He came back?
I think he only got 1 or 2 games.
And then the other defenseman, he only played 1 or 2 games. So, like, I thought Jersey would be more competitive, and I was even thinking they have a Jack Hughes thing. But Jersey's going to be interesting next year because I still think they'll be a team. They're not going to miss the playoffs next year.
You would think not. Although this team hasn't made consecutive playoffs since 2009, 2010.
Who, Jersey?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting stat.
Yeah.
They got to get over that hump then, because this is a solid team that's young. Look at all their lineup. They got young guys.
Hey, there's no excuses for this team. I agree.
Like, you look under it, every guy, I think they got, 4 or 5 guys over 30, if that. Yeah. Like, the core of their team's under 28.
I know. They're starting to become like the but team in a lot of ways.
Oh, big time. But you know what? When Carolina loses in the next round, we're going to talk about it. Carolina is soon to become another but team. Oh, they're going to be that team. They're going to be like...
Because they don't have that star.
Yeah, and they win. Okay, so they're going to be known as a team that wins 1 series every year for 1,000 years.
1 or 2 series, yeah. They haven't won a conference. They've lost their last 12 conference finals games or something. They've been swept the last 3 times.
When's the last time they made the conference finals? A few years ago, right?
2 years ago.
2 years ago, right?
2 years ago.
But they got their ass kicked.
They got swept.
Yeah. And the time before that, they got swept too. I think it was 4-1.
No, their last few times they've been swept.
The other time they swept, whoever was scoring for them, I remember they had some injury problems going into that. One of the times, I remember a couple top guns, whatever little scoring they had, but that's for another time, another place.
Yeah, so 2 years ago, they got swept by the Panthers.
Yeah.
And
the Panthers just beat them up. Beat them.
2019, they got swept by the Bruins in the conference final.
Oh, another one where the Bruins just beat them up. Yeah.
2009, they got swept, but this is like a while ago, but they got swept by the Penguins too. So they've lost their last 12 conference final games, which is a crazy stat. Most boring series?
Oh, most boring series, did you think?
It's Carolina, New Jersey.
Even though they had the overtime, they were flat overtimes.
Yeah.
Like, there was no big dramas for it. I thought the best series on this side, I don't know, I have to say the Toronto was good as everybody else, but I thought the series on the other side might have been better anyway.
I would still take it over a lot of these NBA series that we've been seeing.
In some respects, yeah. Especially some of the earlier ones, they were garbage too.
So
but we should move on.
Let's go to the Western Conference now. So Winnipeg, St. Louis, one of the 2 series still going on, both of them in the Central Division, funny enough. Playoff Hellebuck reared his ugly head once again, just allowing the most questionable goals. I don't get if he's getting rattled or what, and it's weird too because he didn't always have this reputation. You look at his early numbers. He was actually putting up good numbers, or at least consistent with his regular season numbers in the playoffs, but now, it's a disaster. His goals against is .442. His save percentage, .815. That's atrocious.
Okay. So, how did you get that? Okay, it's the bone. Go ahead. Stanley got my new baseball. In any event, yeah, he's okay. He's been quiet. I'm not going to say it on the air because that's nice, but I text you with my interpretation of what I thought was going on to a possible MVP candidate. Come on. He was brutal at times. Like, what happens to these guys in the playoffs? If someone takes some air out of their balloon, he's got in a couple of those skip ones where he can't decide which way to move, and the puck's already gone by.
Shots. Very savable shots he's letting in.
Oh, I'm talking ones. Give me the pads. Yeah. I could stop that one. I can throw a crest in front of this one, and I don't know what's going on. And then the guys, you know what's happening sometimes too? Now the defensemen are standing still, watching. Oh, is he going to make the save? No, man, keep moving, guys. So there's a little bit of disconnect. Like a couple of times when I watch and you rewind, St. Louis are scoring. The Winnipeg guys are pylons. They're not even moving. Winnipeg's got that flow game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How they come out. Like Morrissey got caught a couple times before that. He's standing around. Hit somebody. Get into a shooting lane. But they're watching the goalie. Is he going to stop this? What's up with Hellebuck tonight? Bang, red lights on. You know what I mean?
It's crazy. And last night's game was like, it got out of hand so quickly. It went from like 1-1 to like 5-1 and like it seemed like an instant.
By the end of the first period, wasn't it 5-1?
I think it was the second period, like was the
second period,
goals.
Yeah. It was 2-1, whatever, yeah. But it was 5-1 by then. The game, the third period meant nothing. You knew that. And then they all got goony, which I guess another thing about the playoffs. You know what I mean? It's like they say in rap, when you're a gangster, there's two kinds of gangsters. There's street gangsters and there's studio gangsters, okay? These fucking guys all act like studio fucking gangsters out there in these playoffs. Like, do something or stop it.
Yeah.
Oh, but we'll get the penalty. Oh, we'll get the misconduct. No. There's something wrong with the league because these guys are chirping. Somebody wants to fight. The game gets dirtier as it goes on. This St. Louis-Winnipeg series, man, we said about last week. These guys don't like each other at all.
No. A lot of teams in that Central Division do not like Winnipeg, for starters.
No. And they do stuff with their sticks to each other.
Well, some of the contacts we've seen, just like Scheifele getting roughed about by Kyrou, and then, of course, the hit by Shen, which I get people are saying that's the one that took him out, but I think it was just a multitude of hits that took Scheifele out of this series. I don't know if he's going to be back for Game 7. I hope he is.
I hope he is too, but then Scheifele sometimes is not his own best enemy. Because you're going to go back there like you're a He-Man fucking killer guy. Scheifele, you're not that big. Find a way to get back, but don't get you to go back into the line of fire, and then another guy gets to fucking wrap you.
Well, he is big, though. He's 6'3".
200 if he's 200 pounds.
Yeah, fair enough.
He doesn't have that big frame. Like, he's a big stick out there. Like, I mean, he looks tall, but they say he's not that big. Like if they say he weighs 210, that's a lot. He should have another 10 pounds on that frame. He's a tall guy, but he's thin.
Sure.
And you've seen him get jarred a few times. Like, you know what? A guy at that height shouldn't get jarred. Like, you see Matthews, he gets hit in certain ways, but if you're taking Matthews off his skates, you hit him off balance.
Yeah.
Where they jar Scheifele right off. Like, some guys' defensemen just come in and fucking boom, hit him. Like, what's that guy's name? Perryock, or what's the name of the guys on St. Louis? Especially the top two defensemen. Those guys hit everything.
Yeah.
And St. Louis skates like fucking Madman, and Montgomery's got them playing that old Boston style.
Well,
you know what I mean?
For St. Louis, they're built that way.
Damn right there. They're a bulldog team, man. They're a bulldog team, and they're getting some goaltending. And you know what? Someone's got to lose
home
at
ice
home.
Advantage, was it now 15 wins in a row at home?
Yep, and not only that, so what? Winnipeg's got a nice little run, but not that good at home. No. What does it say for Winnipeg if they lose Game 7? What are you calling in Game 7?
I'm starting to get worried about this. I mean, I'm sticking with Winnipeg. They're my pick the whole way through here, but...
we both are on that side of the fence, and I said to get a 7 games, so we got to go there. But if St. Louis wins, are you going to be surprised?
No, of course not.
No, because it's been that crazy.
We're waiting for an away team to win one of these games eventually, right? That's the thing, too.
Not only that, I'll take it one step further, okay? You got to start realizing that Winnipeg is supposed to be the number one team. Do they want to start turning into Toronto West where they get there and they just lose those games when they're not supposed to? Like Winnipeg, I didn't think they were going to do as good this year. We both were admitted we got to go stand in the corner. But now this lineup that just won the President's Trophy. Whew.
I would say this is worse than what Toronto did a lot of the time, because last year Winnipeg got wiped out in 5 games in the first round, and this year they're on the brink of being eliminated by a team who just barely got into the playoffs. Came
down the stretch rather nicely though. Came down rather nicely. Came down rather strongly.
Still, it's a 1-8 series.
Oh, this is insane. And you know what? I can only name you about 4 or 5 guys on St. Louis. And not that I'm disrespecting them, because you just don't watch them enough to know.
Well, they're the lunch pail crew, right?
Exactly. And they've got a bunch of guys that are I don't know, some of them around the league, some of them not. They've only got what? There's only 2 guys from the Stanley Cup team or something, isn't it?
Parayko, Shen, Binnington.
Or 3.
That might be it. Yeah,
because there's not a ton of guys that are from that team. Parayko's a defenseman, right?
Yeah.
I love that guy.
I think he was on that team. But beyond that, I think that's it.
I'm pulling it up really quick here because and that seems like forever ago. But how do you say the guy's name again?
Parayko, yeah.
Parayko, yeah. I always look at his name when I see it. I never say it right. That's a dyslexic in me. You know what I mean? That I think like that. But I think that St. Louis, like, they don't have no superstars, but I like the way their top six skate.
Well,
you know
I will
mean?
say, though, Cam Fowler is playing like a superstar for them this
series.
series.
No, Cam Fowler, that's who I'm looking for. Okay, that's it. Like, wasn't he on another team?
He was on Anaheim earlier in the year.
That's what it was. Well, that's what I'm saying. But you know what the guy is now? That's why I had to go look at it, and you're 100% right. This Robert Thompson guy, he's pretty...
Robert Thomas.
He should get more love.
I agreed. I said he should be on the Canadian team.
You've got a point there, and he might get a look. You know what I mean? By the time no matter what happens in the series, what happens in this series, what goes on in the beginning of next year, they got to take a serious look at this kid as a team to play in the Olympic team. I agree 100%.
So, by the way, Cam Fowler, guess what his birthplace is?
Windsor,
Ontario.
I knew there was something familiar. Yeah, it's Windsor, wasn't it? Yeah. As soon as I said that, it popped into my head. But anyways, I forgot about, like, those guys aren't considered superstar status. You don't start talking about them like you talk about other guys in the league, like the Mariners or the
course not.
Gabrissov and all that. But that's two good front end guys that frickin' play well, and the other guys are just big boys that skate up and down in a good way. But I don't see no superstars here. But I love the way they play hockey.
Absolutely,
and it's good. In the top six, the way the top six keeps coming at you, like. They look like, I don't know which one's the number one line, which line's number two line. I don't know. I don't care. Just play like that. And the other guys just play their roles because they don't have much scoring after the top six anyway.
No. They need that top six to score.
No, but then they've got six penalty killers, I call them. That's what, out there, which is good.
Yep.
Because nobody's running minus on the team. Nobody on the team, so that's all good.
And it's good to see Ehlers back for Winnipeg as well. He came back for Game 6, and I'm imagining he'll be back for Game 7 as well. We'll move this over to Dallas, Colorado, the only other series that's going to Game 7. This one has been the best first-round series by far. The momentum swinging in this series has been violent, which is very exciting to see.
Oh, I'm not, no doubt about it. I'm looking forward to it tonight. I'm hoping that we should be done the show as that's starting. That's going to be an amazing series. It already has. It just goes back to the argument. Do we go back to 1 versus 8 again, or do we stay like this?
That's a moot point because NHL does not want to go back.
Oh, no, that's what I'm saying. Gary Bettman's going, no.
Well, the owners are saying no. He represents the owners.
Yeah, and the owners agree with this?
They're the ones making the decisions.
Well, they keep asking them. They say no. So if the owners got to live with it, then I'm sorry if your team goes out in the first round.
They seem to be fine with it. Or like 2/3 or majority of the owners, whatever it is, they're okay with it.
I'm okay with it.
I've learned to live with it.
What's that?
I've learned to live with it.
Okay, no, I'm getting way better. I'm the old guy here. Due to this fact, it's just a sin we're going to lose Colorado or Dallas in the first round.
Absolutely.
That's what it comes down to. Just like last year against Toronto and whoever, it was a drag. We were going to lose one of those teams in the first round.
There's always going to be a series like that, even if it is 1 through 8, because that 4-5 series in that regard is going to be basically the same thing. Even the 3-6 series some of the time.
I agree.
Yeah.
So I don't care if it changes. It just gets to be a bitch if you're that tight in the standings.
It's just a different team that's going to be upset. That's all it is.
But you know what it is, too? Some teams can coast home like that. I'm not saying coast home, but they guide their way home. Like, does it matter what Colorado or Dallas's record was in the last 8 games of the season?
No, of course not.
No. So, but then they came into the playoffs already because it looked like they game managed themselves to know they're going to play each other because the level of hockey, the speed of the hockey, like you said, the momentum changes, the hitting. Wow. Yeah. And you know what happens in this series? They hit each other and they got some physicality going on, but they don't have that menace bullshit stuff. All that, like, you know, that Sam Bennett, Vermin, Marchand hitting each other back and forth to what's going on in St. Louis and Winnipeg. I don't see that going on in Dallas in Colorado as much.
No, this is just good old hockey, you know?
Yeah, thank you very much. We're both good here. Let's just do as good as we can as players and go that way. If there's hits, the hits are there. Like McCarr got hit good a couple of times. One was questionable, one wasn't. Guys got pretty excited, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But if you don't have your head up, you're going to get hit. what's his name? Wyatt Johnson came across the middle a couple of times, and he learned not to do that again. You know what I mean? Whoops, somebody's there. Bang, I forget which defenseman was there. Hit him like a fucking oak tree in the middle. But you know what I mean? There's not that chippiness in this team. I don't see that as much. I just see the highest level of hockey I've seen so far is in that series.
It certainly looks like the conference finals in the first round here.
Exactly what it's going to see. Now, at times I've seen that level of play in the Vegas-Minnesota series, but then Minnesota just beat them up and the series is over.
Yeah. Well, hold on.
You know
back to Dallas, Colorado, though, for a sec. Yeah. So McKinnon is just a beast this playoffs. I think he's the sole reason why Colorado's even in the position that they're in right now.
Yes and no. McCarr's played his ass off, man.
McCarr, too. But McKinnon's got 10 points in the first 6 games. Come on.
Oh, I know that.
And he's got 6 goals.
Okay, I agree. And he's playing beastly. I'm not going to say anything about it, but I'm also going to say this. The guys around him that they picked up, they suited. Colorado's pickups were cool.
Oh, absolutely. Like, Nashes, Brock Nelson, Charlie Coyle. Yeah. They're all doing their pickups are another team. They got guys that fit them. And you know what? Sometimes I'm not all about that. Remember I said if you change too many players going in, you know, what about the chemistry and shit? And I didn't realize from the start of the season wanted the Avalanche changed 6 guys. Yep.
And all
including
the guys
their goaltenders.
Including their goaltenders. Well, that's good. So maybe it was only four guys, but I'm saying all the guys that they got out there that they are playing, that they picked up, they look good.
Yes.
Like, you know, and not only that, Landeskog is like a pickup, and he's playing okay.
Yep.
Like,
that's been the big news here. So Landeskog had the second longest time between between days played as a captain, 1,032 games. And the first and third on this list were both fought in World War II.
Oh, my God.
Sid Abel and Sil Apps.
Oh, my God. Yeah, because they had to go to war, right?
Yep.
Yeah, fuck, that's just crazy. But he's looked good out there.
No, I agree. He does not look out of place. Scored a big goal already, too, which
yes,
is insane.
He's been going up and down the wing. But I'm just saying, like, when you look at this team, like, some of Colorado, like, it's you look at their front 6, even maybe their front 7, so to speak, and you look at frickin' Dallas's, and it's so well balanced because you got the old school line with the new school line on Dallas, so to speak. You know, one line's a little older, and they're both effective, and they all play high-skilled hockey. It's just been an amazing series to watch.
Great series. Rantanen's finally found his stride. He's looked better and better as this series has gone on, which may be a little scary for Colorado.
100%, especially where they were the ones that get rid of them.
Yes. Dallas, well, I mean, there might have been some agent meddling in there, but more on that later. Dallas finally led a game. They scored 9 seconds into game 5, and they never surrendered the lead there. So any conversation about them not leading is out the window now. Crazy game 6. The winning goal went off Colin Blackwell's face.
Oh, no kidding.
What defenseman was it trying to get it out? Was it Harley or was it Lundell? I can't remember now. Just put it right off Blackwell's face into the net, and like, what worse break can you get than that if you're Dallas?
Yeah, no, not Blackwell's face.
No, it did go off Blackwell's face.
Who's the goalie on Dallas?
Ottinger.
So I thought Blackwell's a goalie on Colorado.
No, Blackwell's a forward.
I just know. Okay, what's the goalie's name on Dallas?
Ottinger.
But I know the guy that went off the guy's face.
It went off the forward's face. Blackwell.
I forgot.
You're thinking Blackwood. Blackwood's the goalie of Colorado.
Okay. In any event, when it went off the guy's face, the thing was, I rewound it a couple times. It was a look on the 2 defensemen's face.
Yeah.
Down front of the net, they looked at each other like they just seen ghosts. They go, did you see that? Did you see that? If you get a chance, because we're going to show that goal again. They'll show that highlight again for sure, because we have the guys. Look at the 2 defensemen at the end of that play, what they're looking like. Like,
well,
what?
Especially the guy who put it off his own teammate's face into the net for the winner. Like, come on.
They were like the looks on the guy. I felt kind of sorry for him for a minute. I was empathetic, which is something I rarely do. But I mean, it was just wow, and that just changed the whole play of the game. But you got to give Colorado huge props, because you got to remember this. It's like a do or die game for them. It's 4-3 or 3-2 going into the third period, and you're at home, and your crowd's yelling at you, and you guys came up big and took it home. Yeah. Like that's a lot of momentum. If they can keep that high going into Dallas, like who comes out faster tonight?
My money's on Colorado. My money's still on Colorado.
It's just wow, because I like Sagan, I like Marchand, or what's the other guy up there? I like Farber. There's so many guys in Minnesota I like too. So it's tough to go, but I don't want to see. I want to see more McKinnon for the rest of these playoffs.
Of course.
You know.
And I made a mistake. So I'm watching the winning goal now. So it was Sam Steele that put it off Blackwell's face, and yeah, there's just a bunch of Dallas players looking around after that, like, what the fuck?
Yeah, look, did you see them? They're all going, what? It's just like
funny.
There's memes of those. Like there's memes with those guys.
Oh, I bet. So
if you just gotta look at them, and I seen it, I rolled it back. They haven't looked like. Did we see a ghost? Did that really happen? Am I dreaming?
So we're already over an hour into hockey. So
okay,
but the West, it's too close to call between Dallas, Colorado, and the teams that won these next two series. Vegas, Minnesota. I'm gonna say this is the second best series so far.
What's that?
Vegas, Minnesota was the second best series so far.
I would say that in a weird way, LA Edmonton was. It just came to such an abrupt freaking end.
More about that later, but
okay.
I know LA's coach. He's starting to get the dumbass label, but we'll get to that later.
Well, okay, but it could have been. So you're thinking what you're saying? The Vegas series the second best series?
Yeah. Because those two teams just went at it for those 6 games.
Oh no, they were good too, no doubt about it. Like I to tell you the truth, I thought some of the better hockey was on the West Coast, the Western Conference as opposed to Eastern Conference. Not saying anything was bad about the Eastern Conference games, but just the way we've been talking, the way the games have been played out, you had a little bit more insanity going on in the Western Conference, and which made for different quality of games, which were just great. And we're even saying the best series so far has been Dallas and Colorado.
Yeah.
And you're already saying Vegas and thing. And I'm thinking that the Minnesota and LA and Edmonton for a minute, that was something else, but we'll get to it. But no, great series. I feel bad for Minnesota, don't you?
Do I feel bad for Minnesota?
Yeah.
I don't feel bad for them. I mean, whatever. They played a tough series against Vegas. Like, it happens.
But they were missing a couple of key guys that would have made it like that.
Not really. They weren't really missing too many guys, though.
Did Heiskanen come back?
He plays for. You're thinking of Dallas.
Dallas. Well, who's the guy on Minnesota that plays defense? That's pretty good.
I think like John Merrill, but they had like a third pair D that missed a few games, but that was it. Their top four played the entire series.
Okay, then maybe I'm mistaken it there.
But I mean, so the Wild have now lost their last 9 playoff series. Their last series win was in 2015 over St. Louis in 6 games. They got swept by Chicago in round 2 that year.
Okay, and you know what they're starting to get compared to?
The Leafs.
If you watch American sports, you know what they're on their channels. You know what they're comparing them to?
The Leafs.
No, the Timberwolves. The Timberwolves were like that for years. Remember?
Yeah, that's true.
Didn't
like the Garnett years.
What?
The Garnett years.
Yeah, like they always made the playoffs, never won a series. There's some comparison there now, like how many times the Wild have made the playoffs and nothing happened, just get beat, go home, or they've missed the playoffs, or they almost get in. And they were saying, like, when you look back at Minnesota, how many times they got in the playoffs and just got slapped out.
Yeah.
And there was that comparison. And I cringed when I heard it. I said, "Oh, Minnesota fans, that's a lot to take it."
Kaprizov, Boldy, and Gustafsson, I thought were all very impressive this series. Those were the 3 guys that really kept him in there. Depth is a little bit of an issue, especially up front. I mean, their salary cap situation definitely did something there. But Ryan Hartman, I also thought had a great series. He looked very motivated out there.
Oh, I agree. But the other thing that I'm looking at is there was an element of just sheer toughness that freaking Vegas laid on Minnesota that they couldn't answer to. Like, you know what I mean? Like when they said, if we can't outscore them, we're just going to take you into the boards every chance we got. And then Vegas just turned up the freaking violence factor. That's what I thought anyway.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not saying that was a violence factor because there was no goonery. there was a couple times they ran Minnesota guys in the board. Mark Stone is still a guy I'll never like ever in my life.
Him and Eichel definitely found their form late in the series.
Oh yeah, Eichel came back because remember we were saying they were invisible.
Yep.
For a while, but what happened, I think, is that all the hitting and banging opened up the ice for Eichel because suddenly guys were looking over their shoulder, and that opened up the ice for Eichel. That's how I was looking at it, because suddenly it wasn't getting like that in the first couple of games. I don't know, maybe it was just me.
They still look like they were sleepwalking a little bit through the end of that series, even though they won those last 3 games. I don't know.
I just think they gooned them into the ground, which is just like next. They were like, next. You know what I mean? Because there was a certain point in the series, like all of a sudden I thought Minnesota had a chance, and then Vegas won that game, and I said, no, Vegas winning this series.
Well, I called it when Minnesota went up 2-1. I'm like, Vegas is winning the next 3.
And they didn't even.
I was gonna say, although Aiden Hill was horrendous this series for Vegas, which could be a red flag for them down the stretch.
Well, you're not a big fan of his, but I will give you credit on this much. His save percentage was a little bit low because by the last 3 games, the Minnesota shots on goal
it was
went down.
880.
Okay, whatever, but yeah, because they weren't letting them get a lot of shots, and some of those shots were going in. So is he going to be a liability in the next series?
I think so, especially against Edmonton.
Yeah, because it's Vegas and Edmonton already, right? That's been decided.
Yeah. So a couple more things about this series. So Brock Faber was held pointless for Minnesota. He's still looking for his first career playoff point. And the Wilds going into the next season, they will gain $13 million in cap space because of the Parise and Suter buyouts, and not including the $7.5 million bump. So that basically combined those two, they're going to have over $20 million of cap space to work with.
And that's finally for Minnesota. They got a break in all that shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Because those contracts were so bad. There's something about Minnesota, the team I like. I don't know what it is. And especially when they were getting ahead of Vegas early, I was kind of excited for them.
Yep.
You know, I'm thinking, okay, like these guys, this is a good thing. And then because they didn't have it. But like you said, sometimes they didn't have the financial resources to.
Especially the last 2 years.
Yes, but I mean, obviously, they still were able to build a team of this quality.
Yeah,
because look at their lineup. They got a bunch of young guys.
Well, yeah, they drafted well. They got bailed out by that.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Which that leads to your thing. If you draft well, good things will happen to you.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? But I'm not cheering for Vegas anymore either because I think they play goon hockey, and I hate Mark Stone.
So I'll take us to our last series in the first round. LA versus Edmonton. Groundhog Day rears its ugly head once again for the LA Kings. There's a couple moments that were the turning point, depending on which way you look at it. Either the failed challenge in Game 3 for the goalie interference, which I don't get why they even challenged that. There was obviously no goalie interference there. Then, of course, the blown 3-1 lead going into the third of Game 4. That's
the killer for me. That was the hammer. Because they've never really recovered from that. You know what I mean? They just got bitch slapped, and that was the series right over, and the team looked like they were floating out. I'm not so worried about the goalie interference one. That was a balls move by the coach.
That was a stupid move, though. There was no goalie interference there, obviously. Like, where do you think it was?
I wouldn't have called it. I agree with you. When they went to when they were showing the replay,
too. So like I don't know. It was ridiculous.
I am 100% with you. I wouldn't have called it. I don't know what he was trying to do, change the momentum.
By giving your team a penalty?
That was the dumb part.
This Hiller guy's a fucking dumbass. I'm going to say it.
Okay, then they went right downhill. LA is not going to win shit
with him coaching that team.
And they went straight downhill.
Exactly.
After that, think about it. They never recovered. Then they wrote the series. They barely had a lead. Yeah. For the rest of the series after that. Like, it was just all over. And then you had the two most important words of the series, being Draisaitl and McDavid.
I'm just going to call him Draisaitl for the rest of the playoffs now. They're one entity.
Okay, you just might as well do it because they were on there. And you know what? I was kind of disappointed in that LA started being studio gangsters for a while. You know what I mean? They were never street gangsters, and all of a sudden they try to, should we muscle it up a bit to slow them down? And I think that took away from their game because a couple of guys got hit, like I think Enfield or whatever. He got a nasty shot from frickin' I forget who gave him a shot. Was it not
Enfield.
Bouchard?
You mean Byfield?
Byfield, yeah, he took a pretty dirty shot from, who was it? Not Bouchard. Who's the other guy back there in defense? Not Ekblad.
Nurse?
Nurse, yeah. Nurse kind of gave, that wasn't a what we would call a brother-to-brother shot. That wasn't very good. And then Evander Kane was freaking fucking with Clark, and then Clark took that stupid penalty to show that he was tough against Evander, which was really stupid. And then they didn't call one when that guy did a couple of stupid things. And I just said, LA, you're not even that type of team. Is that how you're going to get back at Edmonton? Is you're going to look like you're retaliating and go into the box? Just play your game, get back to it, which they didn't.
Nope.
And then Kemper, who was, I thought, one of the best goalies in the first round, gave up the wrong goal at the wrong time, a couple times, as good as he was. Look at a couple games. It wasn't for him, Edmonton would have went to 10-something.
I agree.
You know what I mean? Because
he's a lot better than his numbers showed this series.
Oh, God, yeah. Because one of the stats that I'm not going to be big on it because I'm not going to rank off about shot attempts, but clean slot attempts. That's what you got to give. That's when goal. You know those ones were like those ones. I'll give credit for like shots there. When you get point blank shots from there, that's what one of the highest zones or one of the highest metrics. What do they call that?
Yeah,
highest chances or whatever. Kemper shots saved more of those than any goalie in the playoffs.
Yep.
But easy.
Yeah. So the Kings had some guys with some gaudy numbers: Kempe, Kopitar, Danault, Fiala, Kuzmenko. But all those numbers, the vast majority of those points, I should say, were in the first 3 games. But
100%. 100%. A couple of games a week, I was down 2-0. What are you doing? Hey, Edmonton, remember back it was 2-0 and 2-1. They had to win game 3. We were going, what's going on? They got a busload. Remember who was playing goal back then? Skinner.
Yeah. No, that was a big part of the turning point too. Like he was unplayable, but and then Pickard stepped in and he was good enough, right?
Good enough.
And then that plus their supporting cast, they all stepped up. Even Darnell Nurse, right after making a stupid play for an icing, he ends up getting a big goal. So I'm like, okay, something's going right here.
Those guys have a tendency of doing shit like that. Nurse and Bouchard, like, they're never going to play on Team Canada or anything.
No.
But then they'll make a big play at the right time to make them look like, okay, they're a serviceable part on the championship team. But I don't know. We'll have to decide on that because this Vegas-Edmonton series, I'm going, okay. First of all, we got to look at it from your perspective. Which goalie do you like?
Hold on. So, well, before we get to the second round, I want to wrap up the first round with our Saturday night picks.
Okay.
So, because the Colorado game is about to start, so I want to get this out of the way now. So, last week, I was 6 for 8. You were 2 for 8.
Oh, God. What a good weekend.
But there's only 2 games this week. That's the good news. So, first of all, tonight we have Colorado-Dallas Game 7. I'm going to choose Colorado to wrap up the series.
I picked Colorado to win the series, right?
You picked Dallas in 7.
Then I got to stay there.
Let me double check, but I'm pretty sure you picked Dallas.
I think I did too.
You had Dallas in 7. I had Colorado in 6.
And then I said to you last week after that, what was I thinking after seeing the first couple games? I went, what was I thinking?
But you're sticking with Dallas?
What? I mean? What?
Sticking with Dallas?
I have to.
And then tomorrow night, the other Game 7, St. Louis versus Winnipeg. We were both on Winnipeg. You had them in 5. I had them in 6. I'm going to stick with my pick of the Jets, although I am scared.
I'll give you a chance to go up. I'm taking St. Louis for the upset because usually in a series like this, someone's got to lose at home.
Okay.
9 out of 10 times in every series, every time, when you get to Game 7, there's usually someone lost on the home somewhere. Someone lost at home somewhere. Usually.
Yeah, there's very few series. I think TSN showed them the other day about like all the series where every home team has won, and there's only been like 5, I think.
Yeah, it's never this clean.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with that being said, because I never liked Winnipeg anyway. Fuck them, Hellebuck, MVP, go home.
So we're already an hour and a half into this, so we're going to try and do a very quick second round preview. So first up, Toronto, Florida. For me, the big matchup keys here are obviously the goalie battle, Stolarz versus Bobrovsky. Panther fatigue, how much of a factor is that going to play in here? The Panthers have been playing a lot of hockey over the last 3 years. And then, of course, the goon/rat factor of Tkachuk, Bennett, and Marchand.
So who are you taking?
I'm going to take the Leafs in 6.
Oh, I can't believe that. I'll take the Leafs in 7 just because they don't want it.
I knew you were.
I'm going to take the Leafs in 7 because you know what? You guys got to keep the drama high in the city.
That's it. Leafs are due for a run.
What?
Leafs are due for a run.
I don't think that the physicality of Florida is going to be as intimidating as it was in the past. I'm not saying it was intimidating in the past. It's just that sometimes you didn't respond to it as well as maybe you should have.
Well, that was a problem 2 years ago. And even like we talked about this, you look at that series. It was a 5-game series, but they were all close to 1-goal games, except for one, I believe. And now the Leafs, they got a better coach. We got better defense. We got better goaltending. Better group up front at forward, too, I would argue. So.
And I would say that you can meet the physicality.
Yeah.
That was the big question mark.
And Florida's fallen off. Well, not fallen off, but like they're not as strong as they were. They've lost some key pieces.
Yes, no. So that's what I'm saying. That factor, and I think you're just as skilled up front, scoring wise.
Agreed.
And you know what? The defense on both sides. You look at especially the top 4. Who's got the advantage?
Defense?
Defense-wise, I think that's pretty close too. And when you go all 6, that's pretty damn close. And they all got trees.
And Ekblad is suspended for what? One more game?
Yeah, one more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you look at it though, and they all got trees. Both sides got trees. So I'm thinking, in my opinion, I think the series is going to open up a little bit more. Because they're going to be banging a little bit more. So instead of trying to get in that defensive position, because sometimes when you're playing those defensive positions, it opens you up to be guys getting a good shot of you in the boards and stuff. So if you keep the motion going more, I don't think you'll get all those crazy, because Florida's just going to try to.
I don't know, though. But also consider this is Craig Berube versus Paul Maurice. So I don't think this is going to be wide open hockey.
No, but I think it's going to be a little bit more wide open than we think.
I don't know if I buy that. I don't know if I buy that.
We're going to wait and see.
We will wait and see. Next up,
I think that the physicality that Florida is going to try to introduce is going to naturally lead it to be open, because with people going to hit each other, sometimes that opens the game up a bit.
Yep.
And that's Toronto's advantage. That's what I see happening.
All right. So next,
and then you're going to have those long periods of time where it's going to be left wing lock against the frickin' whatever. And some big physical things going to happen. It's going to open up, and I think Toronto will score then. And I think the goal scoring is going to be a little bit higher than people expect. Maybe not with the way the goalies are playing.
I don't know about that either.
Because I thought maybe more chances. But Bobrovsky definitely outplayed Vasilevsky, because some of those games early, especially those games at home.
We got to keep this moving. Washington, Carolina is the next series up. Anderson is apparently ready to go here. I think this is an upset waiting to happen. I'm going to choose Carolina in 7 games.
Not a chance. I think that all the things that they learned being a front runner against, and the way that things got unfolded against Montreal, not a chance. And I don't think that Carolina will be able to play as tough as Montreal did, because we were just crazy ass. We had guys that are prone to get that way. Carolina doesn't. I don't see Washington losing. I don't.
How many games?
No. I'll say probably go 7. I think it'll go 7, because sometimes it's going to take them hard.
7 games, but no chance Carolina wins.
Okay, I'll say in 6.
Okay, yeah, it's funny. I had you penciled in as Washington for 6. You're very predictable.
Well, because you know what I'm watching, and you know what I'm saying. So I can't see Washington now. And if Carolina had a bona fide go-to goal scorer guy, I might go to Carolina, okay? But I think that the Washington forecheck is going to be good enough, because they got guys.
I think the Carolina system counteracts that pretty well, though.
No, I don't know, because it's like I don't know how to explain it, but Carolina plays. And I hate to use this reference. They play like table hockey. They stay in their
chip and
line.
chase kind of game.
Yeah, you know what I mean. But whereas Washington will just sweep at you in that. With that forecheck, but they're going forward, and the reason that they're forechecking so that they don't leave the lanes open coming back. I don't know how to explain that. I wish one of those guys had the map on it and I could show you what I'm saying. But you know the way Washington forechecks, they always keep the lanes going, because they go that way. Look at Wilson. Why do you think he hits guys? Guys go in those lanes, bang, he just nails you. You know what I mean? And they play that way, and it's relentless. And all those guys skate like motherfuckers. They got big forwards on Washington.
It's not going to matter if Carolina shuts shit down.
What do you think they're going to do? Just do that lock right at center ice like they do? Like they almost like finish in the fucking thing where they got three guys across?
Yeah.
Because they play that kind of fucking three-man shit, the one deep, two back, whatever they call that. Carolina plays that all the fucking time.
Yep.
Slows the game right down. But Washington's relentless, so I think they'll skate through it. We'll see.
I don't know. Washington also has a history of losing these kind of series, so we'll see. Moving over.
Different years.
What?
Different year, man. I'm going with Washington.
Moving over to the Western Conference, the only one in the West we have right now, Vegas versus Edmonton. So Vegas, they look like they're sleepwalking a little bit to me. There's also the McDrysaddle factor. I'm going to choose the Oilers in 7.
I'll go with that based on the goaltending that you say Aiden Hill might give them a couple games, so then Edmonton will sneak away and win more.
So you're Edmonton in 7?
I'm saying Edmonton in 7 because I don't like the way Vegas plays. Something about them. I just don't like it.
Just bias.
100%. I shouldn't say that. That just makes me bad on the podcast. But don't get me wrong. Like, I like Garbasov and Eichel and all of those guys, but something about that team can be had if you play.
You keep saying that guy's name wrong.
How do we say his name?
Now you made me forget. Hold on. Garbashev,
whatever. Great. One of the best two-way hockey players in the league, I think.
Key piece for them winning the cup a couple years ago.
What's that?
He was key for them winning the cup a couple years ago. They got him from St. Louis. I think it's big for that St. Louis team too.
And he played good last year, and he's just, I see him every time he's out there, and he's got that he's sneaky offensively. That's the word I'm looking for. He's sneaky offensively. You know what I mean? And Eichel's been playing good too. I don't know. It's going to be a tough series, but I'm bringing it down to, like, now that they got over this down 2-0 against LA and then did what they're supposed to all the time, that they're just going to come in and go, and listen, Pickford, play like Grant Fuhr, make a few saves, we're good.
I think Skinner's going to find his way back in this series.
That's what everyone's saying. But when Pickford, who plays game 1?
It's going to be Pickard playing game 1, but he's going to have that fall off game. That's my prediction.
Okay. I just say that the biggest question mark about Edmonton going into the playoffs was Skinner, and he proved it in the first 2 games, and that Pickard's got any kind of a role in him. Even if they lose a game 5-4, I think they'll go back of him just for the strength of the team. He's going to have, to me, a freaking Skinner-type game to get Skinner back in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
even what's that?
I got you.
Yeah, because I think that like playoff hockey goes, you go with the hot goalie, right?
Yeah, sure.
That's what I'm saying there. So I'm just going to take them because Edmonton. I'll take Edmonton.
All right. So
it's really stupid because when you look at how Vegas plays, they've got that. I don't know. You know what? The winner of this right here, they could be going to the Stanley Cup final.
That's so hard to say, though.
Oh, it is. It's just what I'm saying, because now you look on the other side. Who do we got over there?
Like, I mean, we're not going to there's no way we're going to give our picks here because, like, there's 4 different combinations. So, like, doing all the...
Exactly.
Doing all that there. I mean, I think it's going to be Colorado going to the conference final either way, though. I'll say that.
Oh, so no matter what, they're going to the conference final?
Yeah, it doesn't matter if they're playing Winnipeg or St. Louis.
I would say the winner of that series is definitely going to the conference final.
Yeah, agreed.
I'm not gonna go against that. I don't think that like Winnipeg, they better win. Like, this is a disaster season if Winnipeg doesn't win.
Agreed. So a few more things just quickly around the league before we get off hockey. So Canada announced its first players for the World Championships. Celebrini, Konechny, Horvat, Fantilli, O'Reilly, Kent Johnson, Travis Sanheim, Noah Dobson, Mackenzie Weegar, and Brandon Montour are all the names kind of headlining this list. A few guys obviously trying to campaign for those Hockey Canada spots at the Olympics next year. Utah Mammoth.
That's a good team already. That's a good bunch of kids going over there.
I agree. Should be good. Hopefully they bring home a gold medal.
That's a great lineup.
The Utah Mammoth is apparently going to be the name that got leaked over the internet this past week. Not the worst name.
I would take that over any other name that they were going to use. The Utah Mammoth, right?
Yeah.
I can deal with some of the other stupid names they were going to use. I'll get used to the Mammoths real quick.
Better than Outlaws.
Or whatever they were going to call them, Yetis or some other
they couldn't use Yeti.
What?
They couldn't use Yeti.
Was that what it was? Yeah, right. You're saying. But
they
anyway,
were going to use Yeti, but they couldn't. The draft lottery will be live for the first time, so we'll actually see the balls come up. That's going to be Monday at 7 p.m. Chicago cannot win a lottery pick. They will be drafting either third or fourth. The All-Star game got canceled for next year, although the NHL says they're going to hold a kickoff event before the Olympics, whatever that means. It doesn't even sound like they know what that means yet.
No kidding. No kidding. It's still in the mixing bowl.
Exactly. Rick Tocchet is out as Canucks coach. There's rumors that he's actually going to be going back to TV next season.
What?
Yep.
So how much money are they going to give him on TV?
No, exactly.
Who can afford that? No. Wait, back that up for a second. Tocchet on TV, I get it. He's good.
He was on TV 2 years or whatever. When TNT first got it, he was on their panel, right?
I thought every time I've seen Tocchet on there, I liked him. I liked his abrasiveness he talked like he played, but it was real. He pointed shit out. I liked him. If he goes back up, someone must be offering him some big bucks. That TNT who's got the hockey package now? No, ESPN.
TNT and ESPN, they both have it.
Wonder what? I bet you someone's offering him some big money.
Of course.
Because I don't see the tandem of Messier and
Subban.
PK. I don't see that going on for a long time.
Well, you never know. Money talks, right? The Pittsburgh Penguins canned Mike Sullivan. He was immediately hired by the New York Rangers, and there are rumors that John Tortorella will join him on his coaching staff as an assistant.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
That makes big time sense.
The Anaheim Ducks coaching vacancy got interesting as Woodcroft, Joel Quenneville, and Carl of the University of Denver are all the candidates, although it sounds like Carl wants to stay with the University of Denver for now. The Quenneville announcement or the news of him getting an interview there did not go well with the fans, so it looks like Woodcroft might be the next coach of the Anaheim Ducks.
So why is it that Bowman get a job, Quenneville can't? Too close to the fire?
I don't know. I mean, because Edmonton's a boys' club. That's the only reason why Bowman got that job.
I don't know what to say.
Well, you know what I think of Stan Bowman. Aside from the whole scandal, I think he's a crappy GM.
I know you've never had any. He's not your favorite GM.
No. We'll go through some awards finalists. I'm going to name them off, and then you'll choose who you think is going to win. The Vezina, it's going to come down to Hellebuck, Vasilevsky, and Kemper. I think it's an obvious one for Hellebuck.
Hellebuck's a gimme.
Norris, it's going to come down to Makar, Hughes, and Werenski. It's probably going to be Makar.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be right. And who was the third? Morrissey from Winnipeg?
No, Makar, Hughes, and Werenski.
Oh, yeah, Werenski from Columbus.
Yeah.
Columbus, yeah. No, he faded, though.
Not really, though. Ted Lindsay. So interesting that between the two MVP awards, the Ted Lindsay and the Hart, there's only one player that's a finalist for both, and it's Kucherov. For the Lindsay, it's going to come down to McKinnon, Makar, and Kucherov.
I'm taking McKinnon.
I think McKinnon might win it there, too. And then for the Hart, it's going to be between Hellebuck, Kucherov, and Draisaitl. I think.
They're giving it to Draisaitl for sure. He gets his chance. How many shots is he going to get at it?
What do you mean? He's already won a Hart Trophy.
Draisaitl won one?
Yeah.
Which year?
The year McDavid was injured most of the season. It was like
that's
19?
That's right.
18,
I forgot.
19? I think it's going to be Hellebuck winning the Hart.
I forgot all about that Hart. Yeah, you're right. David missed about 30 games.
Yeah, thereabout.
Yeah, something like that. I remember. I forgot about that. So it's Kucherov,
Draisaitl, and Hellebuck. Who are you picking?
For MVP?
Yep.
Oh, shit. I can't believe McKinnon's not in there.
It was a tough ballot this year.
That's freaking... And Kucherov's going to win it.
No way.
No. It's got to be Draisaitl.
I think it's going to be Hellebuck.
No, Draisaitl. If Hellebuck gets it, I'll go give me a break. then it's the sports writers thinking that they're clever than everybody else. Trophy.
We went through it. He dominated all the goaltending numbers. That's a Hart Trophy goalie basically every time.
I heard some great people talking about how many games that freaking Hellebuck was out there and he had nothing to do with the win.
Okay, well, you can say that to the voters. For the Selke, it's going to come down.
They're going to be in your favor. I'm not betting against it. No way. That's freaking nuts. Okay. You think Hellebuck's going to win MVP? I'm going to go. I'm Switzerland. I ain't saying no to that.
All right, for the Selke, the finalists are Barkov, Reinhardt, and Sorelli. It's the first time that teammates have been finalists since 2008, and that was Datsuk and Zetterberg. I think Barkov's going to win it again. He was my preseason pick. I'm sticking with it.
You got to go with him too. Reinhardt's there too, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Reinhardt deserves it, but I think there was a couple other guys. They missed out on your Leaf guys, and
Marner, yeah.
What's his name on St. Louis could have got some votes for it. But
who's your winner?
It's going to be Barkov again.
Yep. Jack Adams, it's going to come down to Spencer Carberry of Washington, Martin St. Louis of Montreal, and Scott Arniel of Winnipeg. I'm going to say it's probably going to be Spencer Carberry, but I think St. Louis and Arniel are going to get a lot of love as well. I'm very curious to see the voting breakdown of this once that comes out.
Washington guy, what's his name again? Carberry, he's winning it.
Probably.
I know he's deserving. We came in the back door and a great coaching job by St. Louis, and he is my boy. But Washington, come on.
One thing I found interesting about the Jack Adams Trophy is that only one winner of it is still with this team.
What?
Rod Brindamore in 2021. Because last year Rick Tocchet won it. He's gone from Vancouver already. 2 years ago, Montgomery won.
What was the parameters? I didn't get the parameters of the question about the Jack Adams. Are you saying the last 5 years?
Last any years.
Wow.
Yeah, because Montgomery won it with Boston 2 years ago. He's gone.
Yep.
That's it.
Wow.
It's a crazy award. Kind of shows it's a little bit of a circle jerk award.
At times it is, yeah. So we have no reason for him to win. But no, the guy in Washington's win. He's got to win.
Yeah. The Lady Byng finalists are Andrzej Kopitar, Jack Eichel, and Braden Point. I think they might give this one to Eichel.
I'm starting to believe, too, because he's getting recognized as somebody that should get recognized for something.
Yeah. And the Masterton...
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. And the Masterton finalists are Marc-Andre Fleury, Gabriel Landeskog, and Sean Monahan. This one's always a tough one to call.
Oh, gee. Did they give it to Marc-Andre Fleury because they know he's retiring?
That's probably one of the reasons why he got there.
Well, that's what they're probably going to do. Even though I'd be going for all three candidates, I go, wow, because I forgot about Sean Monahan.
Exactly.
They're all worthy. They're all worthy. Oh, shit, I don't know. That's a tough one, isn't it?
I think it might go to Monahan.
And we all know why.
Yeah. Unfortunate. To have to
that's
get
why
there, right?
I didn't want to go down that road because it's just pure sadness. I'm going to sit in the fence in this one.
That's
I think
fine.
they all deserve it. I'm going to sit in the fence. Oh, they're all deserving, in my opinion. Maybe Monahan a little bit more, yeah.
All right. So, I mean, we've spent just about 3 hours on hockey right now, so we got to move on. We will move this on to the NBA playoffs, where Greg Popovich steps down as the head coach of the San Antonio Spurs, ending a tremendous tenure as head coach. I know he wasn't one of your favorites, Cruz, but you got to show some respect.
Oh, no, the guy was absolutely amazing. And with 5 rings and drafting the right players at the right time and getting the continuity out of it. Because just because you got great players doesn't mean you're going to win it all the time. But holding that nucleus and always having the pieces in and then ending with the Kawhi being in there to get being involved in the last one and all. No, the guy's a great coach. Little cantankerous at times. But, he's one of the greats. All-time great, no doubt.
All right, for the NBA, so, I mean, I kind of hate to do this. Like, otherwise, we're going to be here till midnight doing this podcast. We're recording a little bit later than usual today. So, Cleveland, Miami. Cleveland gets the sweep. Business as usual for Cleveland, right?
100%.
Boston, I mean, we both knew they were going to get in 5. No surprise there.
Gentlemen sweep. There's nothing to see here.
New York, Detroit. Did Detroit blow this series?
Yes, they did, and I hate to say it, bro. They did. You know what? This is one of those times when you always hear those panels saying, young teams got to lose first before they win.
Yep.
Oh, this is Detroit. Oh, it was Detroit in every way possible. They did it. They were so close. 2 games, they choked it up. The one that hurt the most is 90 seconds left, or what was it, a minute? Yeah, about, 90 seconds left, a little over that. They were up by 7 points.
Yeah.
Then let Brunson shoot that frickin' 3 from another galaxy and then to foul him, and it was just brutal. And a couple of bad calls, too. Like on the play at the end when they didn't get the call, when Cunningham clearly got hacked and the ball got bounced, and that was a 1 point to the Knicks. But the bottom line is they had their other chances to win. You can't rely a series on 2 plays. But I felt that our Piston guys were, and a hell of a come from where they came from last year to now. Unbelievable.
Considering that Detroit was down in the dumps last year. Now they basically pushed the number 3 seed to 6 games.
Should have been 7. Bodes well for a team like the Raptors. Look what the Pistons did.
So New York will play Boston in the next round. Indiana, Milwaukee. Milwaukee fell way quicker than any of us thought they would. Is it time for Milwaukee to rebuild?
Or is this where finally the Greek says, I'm going to leave?
Exactly. That's time to rebuild.
I'm going to leave. And there is more rumors than one that Masai's got his nose sniffing around there.
What about San Antonio?
Oh, that's another one too. But they got another draft choice there. So what are you going to say? They're just going to build that dynasty forever then? Because they do have the cap space.
Yeah.
They do have the cap space and the learning experience. And look at Greek Freak's only turning 30?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that would be insane. That would just absolutely be insane. How do you stop that?
I know.
There'd be no stopping that. All you have to do is get a half-decent point guard. And it'd be over. And they both play D.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, come on. That would be something to see. I wouldn't cheer against that. I'd hate it when they came to play the teams that I would like, but was they're kicking the shit out of everybody else, that'd be highly entertaining.
Absolutely.
We'll have to see. But yeah, crossroads for Milwaukee here. I don't think Indiana's going anywhere. This is their big dance. This is their Stanley Cup. So,
Oklahoma City versus Memphis. This was just business as usual for the Thunder.
And not only that, the way that Ja played, getting hurt, it doesn't matter. You lost a 29-point lead. Yes, and 29-point lead, and you tried really hard in Game 4 to give your fans some respect, but there's something about that team that they've got to, and they were still missing Brandon Clark and the other young kids, so I'm thinking Memphis is going to be around. They're going to come back, but not this time, because OKC is going right to the finals. There's no doubt about that, in my opinion.
Although there's going to be some interesting other teams in the West, notably Houston and Golden State. So this is a series, you initially picked Golden State in 6, now it's going back to 7. Last night or yesterday, you were saying that basically the momentum in this one swung all the way back to Houston.
Oh, big time going home. But you know what? What am I going to do? Contradict myself? You got to still learn how to lose. Like, there's a lot of young guys on Houston out there. But what it boils down to really quickly, because we're not going to spend a lot of time, if you look on why some of these teams lose that you expect to win, you still got to have some size in the middle. Who does Golden State have in the middle? Okay? The Rockets got that Jabari Smith could win there, that sponging guy, the other white dude. They got depth in the middle. And in a second, when we talk about why did Minnesota beat the Lakers, who did they have in the middle?
Oh, you know that was the big one. So the guys right into the next one, I guess. Then the Lakers had no center, and they're basically throwing out their starters for the entirety of the second half just because they didn't have enough depth. And that was their big...
Exactly, and then who eats you in the key game? Gobert, and he was even the go-to guy, which like Ant-Man had maybe not his worst game of those games, but maybe his worst. But it still opened the floor up enough that those guys just controlled the middle. Lakers had nobody there.
No.
And you know what? I found an interesting thing because I always say about Ant-Man, and he's on the rise. Everyone say, "Okay, buddy, this is the second year you're moving up. This is your chance to say it." The great thing about when they're talking about the face of the league, I heard Barkley say it best. No, nobody gives you the face of the league. You take it. Mm-hmm. You take that. You know what I mean? And then he went down the history, like starting with Bird, Magic, the Jordan, the Shaq, the Kobe, the Curry, LeBron. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You grab that. Nobody gives it to you. And this is maybe Ant-Man's time. We're going to have to wait and see. Don't you think?
You would think.
Who does he play in the next round?
Ant-Man?
Yeah.
The winner of Houston, Golden State.
There we go. So that means that you got a good possibility of going against a team that you seem to be able to give the hardest time to, OKC. Just saying, and we've got a long way to go down the road. Because honestly, I think Minnesota should beat whoever it is that wins Game 7, Houston, Golden State.
I'm starting to think so too.
They should too because they got the size in the middle. Golden State won't be able to answer them in the middle. And
we'll get to playoff series a little bit, like round 2 previews a little bit later.
Okay.
So there's rumors about LeBron retiring. I don't think any of us are buying that.
Not 1 second. Not 1 second. He's not going to go out like that. He's got Luka Doncic that could carry it for him. He gets the right add-ons and some people in the middle, and the Lakers could be right back there next year.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, center number 1, maybe a couple other guys coming off the bench.
Get somebody. What if they find a way to get Giannis?
Oh, I mean, I don't know about that because of cap reasons, but that would be crazy.
LeBron will say, I don't need the money. Contract up.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm not buying that. JJ Redick was another one grabbing headlines this series because of his I don't want to say antics, but some of his answers during some of the questions. A little bit of immaturity, or you think it's something more?
I think it's the fact that he was on the other side doing all the shows and saying all that they were saying, and that he was such a smart guy that he ended up getting a job because he was so smart. And then when sometimes people asked him some questions that were a little to the left of being smart, he just said, I'm not dealing with this shit. Because some of the questions were borderline, Like
I know. There's that one about shouldn't you be leaning on your assistants? It's like you're basically accusing of him of having like an out of control ego at that point, right?
No, it was like, and he answered sometimes. If you look about it, and I'm not a JJ Redick fan. You guys know that. You've just been well documented. But I respected this much out of him. He attempted to ask the question, and then he attempted to answer it again, and then he goes, "Are you kidding me?" And he did the smart thing. I thought, especially one time, going, I don't get it, and just left the press conference, because after that it gets confrontational, and then you get the reputation of being that guy, and he's been in the business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think he just said, you know what, I'll live for another day.
Yep.
We lost. Too bad. I hate it. I'm not a very good loser, which is a good thing, I would say too, because that just showed I hate losing. Yep. Remember that. I do that. I hate losing. That's what he showed me there. So hey. Props to him, and I'm no JJ Redick fan, as we well said.
So the last series in the Western Conference, Game 7 tonight of this one, Denver versus the LA Clippers. This has been the best series by far. Jokic, Kawhi, both playing some of the best ball of their careers. Harden as well showing up big. What else is left to say about this one?
You want me to tell you what's going on?
I can see the score right now.
That's what it is. It's been a crazy game because I've got it on the corner of my eye. I still don't know who's going to win this. I'm hoping it's just because I'm a good Kawhi fan.
I want the Clippers to pull it out too.
I would like to, but at the same time, you've got the legacy of the Joker here, and he's got to play big too. Yeah, it's just going to be great. Look at the score. With 4 minutes left in the second quarter, this is going to be just a great.
It's a one-possession game.
What's that?
One-possession game.
Oh, yeah, like that. I still say that the Clippers play a little bit better defense, and they always got weird uniforms. Like we're in these red ones tonight.
Either way.
Like sometimes I don't get the Clippers jerseys. I don't. And I've watched them for many, many years. Like they just wear they're wearing.
We can talk about aesthetics another time when we're not so squished for time. Anything else you want to mention about this series?
No, just that it's going to be amazing till the end. Too bad we will be off the air before it's gone.
Yes.
Okay, continue.
So we can get into our second round previews, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
So Cleveland versus Indiana. I think the Cavs are going to be too much to handle for the Pacers, but Indiana does have that great home court advantage. I'm going to take Cleveland in 5.
I'm taking Cleveland in 5. And I'm surprised that they're going to sweep, because what they're going to say is about that run and gun and how Milwaukee was, and they were a little weak in this and that. Cleveland's just going to say, hey, we're not Milwaukee, and it could be a crush.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But there's the only thing is you get those off-kilter games where guys shoot, and they shoot percentages they don't normally shoot, and they steal the game. That's the thing about the NBA today. Like, you just fire up, like the one game Orlando beat, didn't they beat they beat the one game with Boston? Did you see their shooting percentage for that one game?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not going to shoot like that for 5 games. Nobody does. You know what I mean? So that happens. Otherwise, I see a sweep here. Cleveland sweep.
All right. So next up, Boston versus the New York Knicks. Boston, I think they're going to wipe the floor with the Knicks. They're going to have that one fallback game like they always do. So I'm going to take the Celtics in 5.
Another gentleman's thing, though. I think what the Knicks are going to do is they're going to lay it all on the line and get their hearts broken in Game 6 by the Celtics so they can crush them in the Garden. Why do it in 5? You're back in Boston, where you can give the Knicks fans some kind of hope and go in there and crush their hearts in Game 6 in New York City.
So you're on
the Boston. And even though I'm a John McEnroe fan, that means McEnroe, you got to get crushed too. Because you know what, the Knicks are basically the Leafs of the NBA. Hate to say it, buddy, but
no, we know. I know that. Moving to the Western Conference, it's going to be Oklahoma City versus the winner of Denver and the Clippers. So I think this one could turn out a number of different ways. So I think if it's Denver, OKC is going to win in 6. But if it's the Clippers, I think OKC is going to take it in 7.
I'm going to say that's pretty good perspective, but as I look at both teams and where they're flawed, I think defensively that they're going to win in 6 against either one. I don't think either one of these teams are going to get into 7. Unless Kawhi is completely Kawhi, like he's going to have to be in the second half here too. But I don't see it going either team beating OKC in 6. I think they're on a mission.
Yeah.
After the way they just freaking crushed Memphis, they're saying, hey, man, we're for real. We're tired of it. We already lost. But which I'm really hoping for is leading to a Minnesota OKC conference final.
And then last up is going to be Minnesota versus the winner of Houston and Golden State. I'm going to say... Sorry?
I just said when I see Minnesota playing OKC in the conference final, so you know who I'm picking.
Yeah.
No matter what.
How do you think it's going to turn out in terms of games, whether they play Houston or Golden State?
I think it's only going to go about 6-2. I think they're going to get them down because what they've learned to do is what's that?
Either team?
Either team, it doesn't matter because you know what? They're more skilled. Because who would you rather have, Fred VanVleet or Ant-Man? Everyone's going to say Ant-Man.
It's more than just that, but
okay, so now we got to look at what they're doing in the middle. Houston's pretty good up the middle, but they're kind of young with Jabari Smith and Green and that other guy, Spongin or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
What do you got in the middle of Minnesota? You got the former 6th man of the year, Naz Reid, coming off the bench with his 6'9" ass. Then you got Gobert, who's a beast in the middle, and then you got Julius Randle, who's probably one of the best in the paint scorers in the NBA.
I'm going to say Minnesota in 7 either way.
Minnesota's going to the conference final, I think, for sure.
So we're both on Minnesota.
Yeah.
All right. So that should just about do it for basketball this week. We will move this into the world of Major League Baseball, where our Toronto Blue Jays just puked up a big one today against the Cleveland Guardians.
You know, it's just when you're trying to say you got this Toronto team can do something weird happens. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But now what are we going to say? I kept saying the motto was, as long as they're 500 May 1st, or we're only 16 and 17.
Yes.
You know,
we entered May 14 and 16, which was bad considering your theory about wanting to be 500.
Okay, and as soon as I say it, they got right back to 500. As if to say, remember you said it's close. And I'm saying, okay, and I'm going into the 9th inning today, and I'm thinking, oh, gee, we're going to get out of here. Out of this weekend, we'll be 500 Monday morning.
How about the run differential?
Oh, well, you have to bring up things that are really hard to take. Okay.
Well, so the Jays lost, so going back in the week, they lost a 2-1 series at home to the Yankees. They somehow pulled out a 2-1 series lead at home against the Red Sox, despite things looking very much in doubt. That huge comeback win on, when was that, Wednesday?
Yeah.
Tuesday or Wednesday. Then they got off to a good start last night against the Guardians with the win, but then that puked up they allowed 5 runs in the last 2 innings to the Guardians. Jimmy Garcia got in a little bit of trouble there. It looks like he's a little overworked right now.
Well, that's what they're saying, but somebody else got to step up to the plate. Is going to be there because they can say that about other teams because they got to use their pitching just as much. We shouldn't really be having that issue because that's a Schneider thing yet, because I don't know who else we're going to go to because I know you don't have to see Rodriguez ever again.
He's horrible.
But the bottom line is
he's unplayable.
We're wasting a lot of decent starts by our starters. We're getting good guys that are going 6 and 7 innings, which a lot of teams are, which I've been harping on.
Gausman had a great start today. Only 1 hit, 1 base on balls, 9 strikeouts, no earned runs in 6 innings. All that gone to waste.
Who's that?
Gausman.
That's what I'm saying. Where they go, what was wrong with Gausman? Well, Gausman just came right back and answered. He had a great game. And what did he get out of it? That's what I'm saying. We're wasting games like this. We got to hold on to them, especially because now, all of a sudden, you look at the standings, and then, okay, that's what I want to suddenly cringe about, is suddenly Tampa Bay is 15 and 18, but they got a plus one run differential as opposed to Toronto, which is minus 32.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And that says it a lot. You know what I mean? Like, what's going on here? And he's even going to say when you're going to get down the road, because it's even though the month of May, but if you look at the top teams in the league, like the Tigers and shit, these guys all got mad plus minuses already. I know it's only May, but when you're running out that quickly, he says you got to do something right.
The Tigers, the Red Sox, the Tigers, the Yankees, yeah.
Yeah, they're all running out there. And you know what's really crazy, too, is like when you're talking about it, we're saying Seattle, Toronto are still kind of built the same way because it's more pitching end because Seattle doesn't really hit. Well, suddenly Seattle's like plus 35, and they're 19 and 2.
They'll find a way to screw it up, though. They always do.
What's that?
They'll find a way to screw it up, though. They always do.
But they got the formula down that I'm talking about. Get innings eaters and score a few runs. And all they did was what? They're already scoring like what? Couple runs more per game than they were doing before. But their pitching is stayed just as solid. So when you keep winning 3-1, 4-1, and then all of a sudden the 7-2
they're scoring way more runs than we are so far.
Right now, but they only started scoring those in like what? And when we played them at the same time, we were at the same crossroads as a team. And they say that's one of the sparks that got
we
Seattle
have 49
going.
less runs than them so far.
What's that?
We have 49 less runs than them so far.
So if you go back to that game when they were here in Toronto, our run differentials was only less than 10 difference. So look at what run they went on. Why couldn't we have hit half of that much and we'd have more wins with our pitching? So that's what I'm saying. They've taken advantage of whatever hitting they've got. That I didn't know it was that much of a difference, but when you think about it, yeah, because they're plus 35 now, right? Yeah.
And we're minus 32.
I think the run differential, I'd like to go back there and check what it was. Remember they came into town and they beat us 2 out of 3, wasn't it? Or did they sweep us?
2 out of 3.
2 out of 3, but they look convincing taking us out like that. And they were winning like we were kind of winning with all of that. And they said, well, what if we just get 5% more run production? They got it. But how long it's going to last for them, I don't know. Because their hitting is, but they got the pitching, bro. They got the pitching. We do too, but.
We'll see a little bit more of Seattle next weekend. And we'll also be playing, we're going to Anaheim this week as well. So a little bit of a West Coast trip for the Blue Jays.
We'll see how that works out, that's for sure.
And apparently the Jays are looking outside of the organization for a 5th starter.
They just signed a guy named Spencer Turnbull as we were on the show tonight, didn't they? And 2 guys, actually, that are supposed to be potential starters, but he's the guy that's going to go into the rotation for sure.
And then I've gotten word that Tiedemann will likely not be ready for this season.
I heard that, too.
Yeah.
I heard that, too. I went, shit. Thank God he's young. That's the only, what we say, caveat?
Yeah.
That he's young. But, like, what are we going to get out of this guy? We don't even know. Knock wood, we get something. Thank God he's young. He's going to get over. This is a lot of injuries at this age, though.
For sure.
Like, come on. Come on, that's a lot.
Oh, it has me worried.
Yeah, gotta be. Like sometimes, like then we get to see you. We want to see the kid go.
Yep.
But in the last 2 years, the pitching, the injuries he's had. God bless you, kid.
Hopefully, it works well for him. Dalton Varsho finally came back for the Blue Jays. Hit pretty well to come back to start the season. Although his numbers dipped down a little bit. Although he's still getting some walks.
But he hasn't played. It's not enough of sample size. He's playing with a hurt. I'm so glad to be back in. But, I mean, he hit he hit a home run at the right time. Great.
2 home runs so far.
Or whatever. But, I mean, yeah.
He's already 2 back of Vlad and Santander for the team lead.
There you go. Point well taken. But he's still – did you see him today?
No.
Runners in scoring position, and yesterday, come on, the guy, they throw that, he had 2 3-0 counts, and they got him out.
Oh, well,
easy.
You know what I think about Varsho as a hitter? It's
Can he
basically
hit
the same as
240?
you.
That's right. So can he hit 240?
No.
Well, then whatever it is, like he was in the 5th slot today, though, right?
Yeah, they've been batting him like pretty high.
Yeah, well, that's okay because who else we had to go there, and he's a veteran, he deserves the spot. And Springer is in the 4th spot, and to me, Springer's been our best hitter. His resurgence has been amazing.
I agree.
You know what I mean? And he's hitting the clutch. He's hitting the ball all over the field. He's shortened his swing, so I don't think he's going to have the power that he has, but he's going to spray it all over the field. He'll catch one. You know what I mean? He'll catch one and knock it out, but he's hitting the ball all over the field, which means that, he changed his batting stance, which is good. So what's he hitting still? He's hitting like 310, isn't he?
322.
Yeah, 322. So, yeah, like he's hitting solid.
His OPS is over 9, which you love to see.
Oh, yeah. No. That is good, too. But if the guys in front of him were on base a little bit more instead of their empty calories, then it would help out.
I was thinking about this, too. If the Jays, moving their batting lineup, their batting order at all would make any difference. I was kind of thinking maybe move Bo to the 3rd in the order.
Who hits leadoff?
Put Springer back there.
You know what? This is the argument of the day because he was such a struggling guy coming down the stretch last year, and then he had a couple of few spots that looked pretty good, but then he didn't. And then you put him in a spot, and he's hitting there so comfortably. Do you play around with that?
Do you think it matters that much?
I don't know. There are a lot of old timers that say, don't mess up. And he's been doing good in the position he is, like in that 4th and 5th spot. Suddenly they put him in 1st. He starts trying to be a leadoff hitter again. And what happens?
But if he brings the same approach to the plate, then what difference does it make?
Okay, then let's put him back up there.
There we go.
I'm not saying it doesn't always work that way. They say, it's a mindset, but I like your belief in what you're saying. Does not sound correct to me. You know what? Bring your same mindset, but sometimes it does not work that way because now you're the leadoff hitter. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I don't know, but I'm saying I could believe that. So who's going to be? So everybody moves down, and that makes Santander the cleanup hitter, and that's what we got him in town here for anyway.
Exactly.
Correct? So let's go and experiment and see it's going to work. It's just that once we get past Santander and all that, is the bottom end.
Well, that's a problem anyways, though, right?
We don't know who's going to hit. Like some nights you think this guy's going to get a hit, and then that Lucas guy will get the hit. And then another guy will get it. We're just not getting, can we get 3% more in our batting average from anybody?
Oh, my God. You're going to drive me nuts with this 3% more talk.
Well, that's how Seattle's proven it, and I keep saying it, and we can't even do it. And look how little I'm asking for. I'm not asking for a lot.
I'm saying we need to trade for a third baseman. I said it last week.
Oh,
let's get Arenado. Find a way to do it, Blue Jays. Get off your ass.
Let's get on the bandwagon. The House That Happens is going to start a campaign. We want Arenado in Toronto. The question is, what are we going to ask for? Bichette? Then we're back to where we started.
No. It's got to be prospects.
Oh, and what prospects do we have? Martinez?
Give him Tiedemann.
Oh, you're killing me. The guy hasn't thrown. Come on. Stop. Yeah, throw Manoah in too, okay? Just give him the both of them. Come on. No. I don't know. I think that we had already been trying to bridge that gap if we had something to offer, because he's still not happy there, and St. Louis is suddenly not having the year that they thought they were going to have.
Yeah.
Because, St. Louis is a big baseball town. They don't expect to be down for long. So, and all of a sudden, what are they? 14 and 19. You know what I mean? Yeah. And they're going nowhere when you got that West Division that we can talk about all day going on. What?
They're in the Central.
But they're not going to win the division. No chance.
No
chance they can win that division.
Not with the Cubs and Reds.
No, and not only that, so they got no chance of a playoff. So right now, if you're St. Louis, they're worse than us because they already know that their season is done. And it's
100%.
May. How do you feel if you're St. Louis? Okay, they're 14 and 19, but look at their lineup. How do you feel about St. Louis?
They're not going anywhere.
They're going nowhere. So are we going anywhere? Like, let's just put it in context like that. We want to be something. What are we? Like, but we're only a game under 500.
Jays have got to play their asses off at home. That's the only way I can see this happening.
Way better. But we're not bad. We're 4 games over 500 at home.
I know.
But we got to still be better than that. But I agree.
We got to improve our road game as well. Like, we can't be 5-10. Come on. Got to be closer to 500.
Well, no, but what we got to do is get back to my original sentiment. Hit 3% more. 5% more. That's all we got to do. Our defense is solid. Our pitching isn't bad. So, Jimmy Garcia had a rough day tonight. He'll be fine for the year. All pitchers have that moment. It's all about our hitting now. We just got to hit a little bit more.
Agreed.
But a lot of teams in the league can't hit either.
But these guys aren't going to get magically better at hitting. Like, we only have a few guys on this team that can mash it. That's the problem.
Okay, but they're not even doing it now. Let's hit their average. Let's get Santander, Bo, Vladdy, Springer, and Kirk all to hit their average for 1 month. What their career average for 1 month. Just do that.
I'll just leave it like this. We should get off baseball soon. If we're still having this conversation about the Jays in like another 3 weeks, in a month, whatever, they're done. They're done. We're
done. That's what we're trying to avoid. Like, I'm screaming. Like, I'm trying to say, I'm positivity personified. I'm trying to stay on the upper level on this team because I wasn't even turning the games on for a couple of days because I was so frustrated. Like, you know, and especially we were coming home to Boston, and then we lost the first 2 to Boston. The second Boston
we only lost the first one to Boston.
What's that?
We only lost the first one to Boston.
But I mean, when they won Boston, but the way they won it, I was like the second game, I said, I'm not going to take a look for a second. Oh, we won. Then I rewound and took a look and see what was going on, see what was pitching and what was going on, and then I peeked again. But like, I'm one of great, let's get the first pitch, let's sit down and start watching the game. I had a little pause for that for a minute because the Blue Jays are very frustrating to watch. 1 for 1,000 with runners in scoring position. If they flash that screen on the screen one more time, I'm going to fucking scream. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, they're harsh. When they show that runners in scoring position stat, how many times have you seen it on a Jays game and you've just gone, oh,
it's tough to watch.
Oh, yes, it is.
So a few quick shout-outs before we get off baseball. So shout-out, first of all, to the Detroit Tigers, the best team in the American League. Shout-out to the Atlanta Braves for getting back in the saddle, basically turning around that horrible start to the season that they had. And also shout-out to the Cincinnati Reds and Terry Francona for the start of the season that they've had.
I still say the best thing about it is I just can't see it. It happened right before our eyes, even though they've lost their last 2 because they still haven't gotten over 500, is how miraculously Atlanta turned it around.
Oh, yeah.
That fast, that much. And they've only got 3, there's dropped 3 starters. I'm all time every week, guys. Everyone check me out. Fact check me. No team's got 4 really good starters until you go west a bit. And even the Dodgers in them. They got some weird bullpen, starter, not a starter shit going on. So you got to give these, like, to come back like Atlanta did. Like, they were 0-8 to start, or 0-7, and then 2 and whatever they were. And now look, it's just amazing turnaround, and they've done with a little bit of everything. And here's the key: their run differential is now 0.
Yep, crazy.
It is. God bless them. God bless them. And my beloved Detroit Tigers. I can tell you everything the Tigers are doing. I'll do that, but we don't have time this week. I've watched every game.
So we'll move this over to the NFL draft to complete over the Big Four, where Shedeur Sanders was finally drafted at 144 overall in the 5th round by the Cleveland Browns.
Okay, so I said this when we were off the air in the production meeting, and I'm going to say it now 100%. This is the biggest fuck you to the Sanders family I've ever seen in my entire life. I've never seen anything like this or could grasp.
What makes you say that? What makes you say that?
This guy at the worst was a 3rd-round pick talent. Wherever
he had horrible interviews, though. That's going to sink you every time in these.
So bad that you're going to dump the guy that far?
Oh, okay. What's the difference between 3rd round and 5th round? That happens all the time.
That's another 60, 70 players that are supposedly better than
It happens, Cruz.
I can't say no. This is flabbergasting. Like, it doesn't matter. Okay, part of the problem was he just walked in like his dad and sat down, was like already a Sanders. These old school guys didn't want to see that as a guy that hasn't played a freaking down in the NFL and had some kinks in his armor. Like, for example, if he was a quarterback in last year's draft, we know what he would have been, the 7th or 8th in that draft? So we understand all of that. That still would have put him, in the top 3 rounds last year. It's just that sometimes people look at somebody and they handle it a different way, and look what we got. Okay? And that was even worse, and then they hoaxed the guys. Were those Atlanta people let out the number and they hoaxed them on top of that?
Oh, well, there was another guy that got prank phone called too. You got to feel bad for those guys.
Okay, but in any event, that's how shameless this whole game got. You know what I mean? And this kid hasn't done nothing but play football. So now, in your honest opinion, and you've seen him play, and you've seen the numbers, and we've all seen the tapes, do you think that he's that bad, that he's a 5th-round pick, in your honest opinion?
I can't say. I haven't watched an entire Colorado game all season, so I can't say.
I have. I've watched a number of Colorado games, and as a matter of fact, when they say some of the critiques they give against him, I agree, which is one is holding on to the ball too long and taking crazy ass sacks. Like that kind of shit, Some of his intermediate throws, he gets out a little bit too slow, but he can throw a long ball and he can hit the seams. I've seen him do it all. And, oh, by the way, how big is he and how athletic is he? And he can run with the ball, and he's got those, what do you call it, from Baltimore quarterback. Those little slip through the line runs, he's got a little bit of that in him. What's that?
Like Lamar?
Yeah, Lamar, but he's not
small,
Lamar.
Though. He's only 6'1".
I thought he's 6'2".
He's listed at 6'1".
Okay, and 210, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and he's only going to get bigger. He's got a good frame.
He's going to get taller, though.
But he'll get thicker.
Yeah, but height like that, that's the most important thing for a quarterback. Like, these guys are usually 6'4"?
Not always. There's a lot of 6'1", 6'2" quarterbacks around the league.
Like who?
What's Cousins? 6'2". What's the guy that's in Washington, the rookie? He's 6'1". I think Drake May's only 6'2". I think, let me keep going. What's the guy in Arizona? He's only 5'11".
Oh, he stinks. And Drake May's 6'4", actually.
Is he?
Yeah.
What's CJ Strong?
And Kirk Cousins is 6'3", by the way.
Okay, so what are there's a couple other guys? Aren't they around 6'1", 6'2"?
CJ Stroud is 6'3".
Okay, maybe he's a little short then. We'll see.
He is short for a quarterback.
The guy that was drafted in the 5th round, is he taller than him?
The guy that got drafted in the 5th round?
I think that's saying the 6'1". If that's your main excuse for not drafting him, I'm
bad interviews. I can see why he sunk that far.
I think it's crazy. I think it's more than that. That's just crazy. It's unbelievable. And you know what? You hear the rhetoric.
That's just the hype that's kind of directing people that way?
No, I'm just thinking that there's a lot of credible people that talk in the NFL that I've watched around the league that have spoken out about it, like real credible people that are going, come on. And when these guys are like old school GMs, and guys that are maybe doing some of their on camera, they got a beef to pick or whatever the case may be. But a lot of people that are credible in the game are shaking their heads on this one. All saying that he could have fallen.
Well, we'll know in 5 years. I hate this. People are like, oh, you should, this is such a bad mistake you made in the draft. We won't know this until 5 years. So people need to calm down about this stuff.
Two major scouts have said they predict that if he's not the starting quarterback for Cleveland, by Game 6, he will be the starter for Cleveland. These are two major freaking
Cleveland
GMs.
also doesn't have much to work with in the quarterback department.
Okay, but they brought some people in and they drafted a guy ahead of him. If that is true, and if he's somewhat effective at that level, after 6 games starting in the NFL, there's going to be a lot of egg on people's faces.
We'll see.
You know what I mean?
We'll see.
Yeah, no, I'm betting on him. I'm not going to say he's going to be a superstar, but say he's Kirk Cousins good. Say he's, like that. Okay, that's one of the things they say. Let's another say. Say he's Philip Rivers good. Say he's I don't know. Name a few other guys that didn't win Super Bowls that played pretty good. That's, you know what I mean? Like he's in that mode. But then again, some of those quarterbacks fall into a place where they win a Super Bowl in that year and they're part of it. So you don't know. My opinion on the whole matter is, sure as I'm talking to you right now, is it's fucked up shit, man.
Okay. I don't know if I agree with that, but.
Okay, well, we'll wait and see. We'll just leave it there. Otherwise, what's that?
I was going to ask you, what did you think about your team's draft?
Oh, we were fine. We drafted by, what did you say? We drafted by position. Look at. We have one of the best O-line, and we have some good defensive guys that we got hurt. And look at the linemen that we drafted right off the top. When we were in a position, we drafted Prickett, and we did draft a wide receiver too, I believe, right?
I don't know. I wasn't. I actually just closed the page.
Yeah, but in any event, it was fun to see that we drafted from strength and got strength. You know what I mean? I wasn't disappointed at all.
Yeah. So you took a defensive tackle, a guard, a wide receiver.
Yeah, that's what it is. See, right off the top. And going from strength, we got one of the best O-lines. We got Hutchinson coming back. We got a couple other guys, and look how we drafted. Keep O-line, keep D-line, baby. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with the way the Patriots drafted as well, grabbing an O-tackle in the first round.
You guys drafted artfully. No, seriously. The first guy you drafted, was the best lineman considered in the draft?
Yeah, I know there's people like saying that he's got like short arms or whatever, but if you stop the guy, like who cares?
Well, you see, that's another question. Shedeur is an inch too short.
I would say a couple inches too short.
Okay, well, that guy's arms are a couple inches too short. Come on. It's the same way till let's see him on the field.
Exactly.
Like you can think of a million reasons about this guy. This guy that you drafted, though, this guy was born to be an offensive lineman in the NFL.
I'll take that.
He came out of the womb. They said this guy was his goal. Did you see him at the draft, how emotional he was?
Yeah, I did.
And what did he say? What do you think? All that hard work. I was going to be here. And I want a guy like that on my team. Short arms and I got knock some people on his ass. He's got wide shoulders, too.
Exactly.
Got a little good. He's got to work on his footwork, but every guy coming in the NFL's got to learn the footwork.
Anything else for football?
No. We can keep going. Get out of here. It's getting late.
We will move this over to the soccer report, where Toronto FC lost to New York City FC 1-0 last week on Saturday. They dropped a 2-2 game in penalties at home to Montreal on Wednesday in the Canadian Championship preliminary round, so Montreal advances to the quarterfinal. And Toronto dropped a 2-0 game at home today to New England. So just bad all around for our Toronto FC.
Next.
Yeah, so we'll move this over to England, where Crystal Palace beat Aston Villa 3-0 to go to the FA Cup final, and Manchester City they defeated Nottingham Forest, and that final will be May 17th at Wembley Stadium. Wrexham was promoted to Football League Championship. This is the team that's owned by Ryan Reynolds and oh my God, I'm blanking on the guy's name from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Rob McElhenney. Right. Rob McElhenney and Ryan Reynolds own the team, and this was their third promotion in the last 3 seasons, so now they are one step away from moving into Premier League.
Pure money, isn't
it? Definitely plays a part in there.
Yeah, but who are their other partners, too?
I don't know. Those are the big two.
Okay.
Either way, my game of the week for Premier League is tomorrow. That's Chelsea versus Liverpool. Chelsea's trying to get one of those final Champions League spots. In Italy, it's Bologna versus Juventus. Tomorrow, we'll be looking forward to that one, as Inter also slipped from their first place spot. They're now second place, 3 points back of Napoli, as they battle in various European competitions now. In Spain, Barcelona beat Madrid 3-2 in extra time for the Copa del Rey final. The quad hopes for Barcelona still alive, as they won the Super Cup in Saudi Arabia against Madrid also 5-2. So if they secure La Liga and Champions League, they will have the coveted quad. In Germany.
Okay, but can I ask you a question before I forget? You're going too far?
Sure.
These Saudis are like invitational tournaments where they just say, here's a bag of money.
So this was a Super Cup. So this was the top 4 teams in Spain got to play in that.
Got you. Okay.
Yep.
Got you.
In Germany, RB Leipzig got the tie 3-3 versus Bayern today, preventing Bayern from clinching the title. In France, the big news this week was that Paris FC was promoted to Ligue 1 for next season. So it's the first time that 2 Paris teams are in the top tier in the last 35 years.
Wow.
Yep. And it'll be Lille versus Marseille tomorrow. Big Champions League spot on the line for that one. But of course, we want to talk about the big one here. It was Champions League semifinal leg 1 this week. Arsenal lost 1-0 to PSG. Dembele got the winning goal in the 4th minute. PSG won the possession in the shot battle in that one. And on the other side, Barcelona and Inter played in a 3-3 thriller. Thuram opened the scoring for Inter 30 seconds into that one. Yamal and Torres with some big goals in there to help bring Barcelona back. They were down 2-0. They brought it back to 2-2. Barcelona dominated the stat sheet at home. They could only come out there with the tie, though.
That's a crazy-ass game, and I think Barcelona will win and go on the next game. You're agreeing with me because you picked them anyway.
It's going to be tough going into Milan, though.
What's that?
They play in Milan the next game, though. It's going to be tough.
They can still do it. They're Barcelona. Come on. Come on. Just like I think I keep saying Arsenal's going to win. And you're on the PSG side now. Remember we had this in the meeting talking. Like, I can't believe that you're already going, okay, they did
I said this last week, too. I picked PSG to beat Arsenal.
I know you did. And I'm going, wow. But I still say Arsenal finds a way to pull it out.
I don't think
on
so.
Aggregate. It's only 1-0 anyway. All they got to do is
they got to go into Paris now.
And they're going to go into Paris and make it burn.
I don't know about that.
What if they win 3-1?
They're not.
What if they win 2-1? They win on aggregate, right?
What if PSG wins 5-0?
Come on. I bought a lottery ticket today.
Your hypotheticals are good, but mine aren't. That's cool.
Come on, you can't be that crazy.
Why not? Okay, what if PSG wins 3-0?
Okay, so you're supposed to teach me the minutia of this game, and you have
I'm not supposed to teach you anything. I'm not your teacher.
No, but I mean, you open the doors for me to get the opportunity to comprehend more about what goes on in these leagues because they're of the highest level, and I want to learn. And you've never said nothing about PSG, and you just said 5-0.
No. But hold on. I went back and looked at the facts, and I'm like, PSG actually has been building it up. They've been to the semifinals now 3 of the last 6 Champions Leagues. It's looking like the Manchester City story. Although I will say, history is a little bit on your side with Arsenal. The last 2 years where a pope has died while pontificated, 1978 and 2005, Liverpool did win an English team did win Champions League, although it was Liverpool.
Saying well for Arsenal. Arsenal. The Gunners. Arsenal. When are they going to be done with that pope thing?
Probably another week for them to vote. But either way, Inter versus Barcelona, they'll be on Tuesday at 3 p.m. and PSG Arsenal will be Wednesday at 3 p.m. And that all leads up to the final for Champions League, May 31st in Munich.
Oh, that's going to be, and that's in the Olympic Stadium, right?
Wherever Munich plays.
Yeah, they got that crazy ass stadium there. State of the art or whatever it is.
Yep.
It's going to be. And then we'll take the time to watch that one on May 31st. 100%.
Absolutely. But for now, we'll move this on to the PWHL, where the league just announced that they are expanding to Seattle for next season as well, along with Vancouver. Great to see there.
That's really cool. They're both coming next year, right?
Yes, they are.
Yeah, because remember I was saying about one team sounded kind of whatever, and you said, well, there's going to be a team in there, and boom, they announced it. That's cool.
Yeah, and they're right beside each other, too. It's going to be an automatic rivalry. You got to know that.
Oh, 100%. And on the traveling we were talking about, too, it's going to, Yeah, and considering the amount of games that they'll play, built-in rivalry. It'll be great.
Absolutely. So
it'll be great.
For our Toronto Scepters, they lost at Boston 3-0 last Saturday. Although they did win 2-1 versus New York in the shootout Tuesday, clinching a playoff spot. But today they lost 2-1 to Ottawa in the shootout for Ottawa to clinch the final. Or they ended up getting the 3rd seed. Montreal has the top seed with 50 points. Toronto is the 2nd seed with 48 points. Ottawa is the 3rd seed with 44. Minnesota just stole the 4th seed today with 44 points. So now Montreal gets to choose whether they face Ottawa or Minnesota, and they have until early Sunday afternoon to decide. Last year's runner-up Boston misses the playoffs on a tiebreaker.
I know. Hey, listen, that's kind of bizarre that I forgot about that rule. You pick the team. That's just okay.
Well, it's a choice between two teams. Let's be real. And this year they end up finishing with the same points. So,
I don't think it's really going to matter. But the fact that you can pick that team, it just builds up a nuance that makes sports more competitive.
Oh, absolutely. They're doing what they can to get the eyeballs on, which is very important for a startup league, right? Yes, huge. That's the way it's got to be. You know what I mean? And bums in the seats, the whole 9 yards. You know, absolutely. New York is in last place for the second year in a row, unfortunately for them. And Toronto begins the playoffs Wednesday, May 7th at 7 p.m. And game 2 will be Friday at 7.
Let's go, girls.
Whether it be Ottawa or Minnesota, who cares? Let's take care of business. Very cool that all 3 Canadian teams made the playoffs this time.
That is very cool. And I'm really hoping for a Montreal-Toronto final.
Absolutely. Hopefully we get that this time and they don't get egg on their face in the first round again.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to it.
Anything else to add for PWHL?
No, but I will have the games on because the playoffs are coming. I've been trying to pay a little bit more attention to them. I didn't see the last. I seen the game that they lost, but I didn't against was it Ottawa when they lost? Yeah. I actually watched the last period and a half of that. It just looked kind of pedestrian at the time. I thought Toronto was going to pull it out, but they didn't. But I'm going to take a look because, if you get the door open to take a look at what they're doing and it's playoff time, you might as well watch the end of the story.
Absolutely.
Let's see what happens. You know what I mean? So I'll be taking a look. Let's go, girls.
We'll move it over to our final news story of the day, Formula One, where the boys are in Miami for the Grand Prix this weekend. I don't know if you caught any of the sprint or any of the qualifying today.
I'm going about to, when I leave here, I'm going to walk my dog and come home and watch it all.
So you haven't seen anything?
No, but you can give me a little run up if you want. They haven't done the polls yet, have they?
Well, they did. So sprint qualifying was yesterday. The sprint was this morning, and qualifying was today. That was at 4:00.
I got it on tape, so you can't tell me anything because it'd be no fun because I want to watch qualifying.
All right, you haven't seen the sprint either?
No.
Okay, so we'll leave that as a secret. We'll do that a little bit of a wrap up for next weekend, but
then that's good because I had it on, and the tone of your voice says I'm going to be entertained.
Oh, the sprint was very entertaining. Qualifying today got very interesting as well. So
you know what it is? I always tell that. I'm going to tell Gail right away. I'm glad you didn't say nothing because tone of voice told me. Sometimes you have to hear just how people say something about it, and I know, and you're the F1 guy. There's going to be some shit I'm going to be asking you about. Hey, what about this? What about that? Good. Because what else is on tonight after the basketball game?
Besides basketball and hockey, nothing. Maybe some good baseball games, but that's about it.
But that's on the side, and I don't know nothing, and I won't put anything on, and I'll just put it on, and I'll even turn up the sound and watch it. Oh, that's going to be great. I'm not going to bed early, so what the hell?
So next week there's going to be no race, but after that it's going to be a triple header: May 18th in Imola, May 25th in Monaco, and June 1st in Spain. So very much looking forward to those. Anything else you want to add for F1?
No, not at the moment. I'm excited now that we didn't say nothing about it. I just got to go watch it. I like that.
All right, so we'll take this.
I've been sports like that, guys, for years when I've always have events.
Yeah.
And I don't watch it. I don't know the score and come home and just kick up on the couch and go, this is cool. I'm digging it.
So we'll move this over to our trivia question provided by Steven.
How you doing, Steven?
You ready, Cruz?
Yes, I am.
The Vegas Golden Knights are the third in NHL playoffs for most wins through their first 100 playoff games. They have 60. What are the two teams ahead of them, and how many wins do they each have? So So it's basically who's got the most playoff wins in their first 100 playoff games. So Vegas has 60. You're saying Montreal?
Oh, God, yeah, come on.
I got to think about this.
Oh, Montreal for sure. Why wouldn't we? Like, who would have more in their first 100 playoff games? In our first 100 playoff games, we've won how many Stanley Cups? More than anybody else. The Leafs could be there too.
No. Because Montreal's dominance didn't come until the 50s.
Yeah, but they were all doing a bunch. It could be Toronto.
Maybe.
You're right.
See, so NHL, so it's NHL playoffs. So it starts 1917. So that means like the original Ottawa Senators dominance basically doesn't count.
Okay, so Montreal or Toronto for sure for this reason. First of all, the Boston team switched, so they did a lot of losing. The Rangers were known as a losing team at the time. Detroit was there. I would say they were third.
But it doesn't have to necessarily be all original 6 teams. In fact, I'm gonna bet I'm gonna bet that one of them at least one won't be an original 6 team.
So you're gonna feel like it's like Montreal Maroons?
I'm tempted to say St. Louis because they went to the finals their first 3 years.
Oh, interesting. Let's think about that.
And they were like a perennial playoff team.
How many wins in your first 100 games?
Yeah, even like Islander. Oh, you know what? Oilers are definitely there.
Okay, wait. Your first 60 wins in your first 100 games?
No. So the thing is, Vegas, they're third in the stat with 60 wins in their first 100 playoff games. Who are the top 2? I'm going to say Edmonton for sure.
Then you got the Islanders. No, because they kept losing. So I'd say Edmonton. Maybe the Islanders, too.
No, but you're right, though. They did do a lot of losing at first.
But still, then they won 4 Stanley Cups and they went to a final.
Yeah, but they get to 100.
Islanders, I'm going to say
how long did it take them to get to 100, though? Consider that, did the vast majority of those 100 games come before, 2 of those cups or whatever, right?
No, they went to. It was also condensed anyway. It was condensed, so no.
But the playoff format, it's basically they played virtually the same amount of games. It's just like the first round was like a best of 3, then a best of 5, right?
Who are they now? How many? We just got to say the 3. Vegas. There's only 3 teams that are better than Vegas.
2. Vegas is third.
2. Vegas is third. It's got to be Edmonton for sure, or the Islanders for sure. St. Louis is a good call.
I'm gonna say it's not the Islanders.
But one of them teams from way back in the day.
Hold on.
No, you're right. It would have to be one of those because I know Steven's question is trying to go that way. I'm going to go with the Islanders and I'm going to go with the Oilers.
Islanders and Oilers?
St. Louis is a good call too, but they didn't play enough because they got their asses kicked once they got in the 70s. So those 100 games, so they had best of 7. So that was like, there was only 3 series then. So that could only be 4, 8, 12, 24, 36 to give them another 46, 71. No, can't be St. Louis, but the Islanders, when you condense into it, they won 1 series and they lost to Toronto, but that was only like 1 series, so they played 4 games. When you add that on, and then they want, no, it's got to be Islanders and Oilers. I'm going to stick to it. Probably wrong. Pittsburgh, no. I'm definitely going with the Islanders.
No, definitely not Pittsburgh.
No, definitely not Pittsburgh. No. So I'm gonna go with those 2.
I'm gonna say Oilers for sure. I'm sticking with that one.
Okay.
I'll stick with St. Louis. Why not? And how many would you say that each of them have? Islanders and Oilers.
Okay, I'd say Islanders have 70.
Okay. Oilers?
Probably a couple of more because they won that championship 2 years later without Gretzky. So they probably have the most.
I'm going to bet that 100 playoff games came before that last playoff win in 1990, though.
That's a lot of playoff wins.
That's
that means you're like 20 games. That's a lot of wins. I don't know, man.
I'm going to say Oilers are at like 65.
How many has Vegas had? How many 60, has Vegas had?
60.
And there's only, and so that means that, okay, I'll go with that too. Neither one of them have 70.
Yeah, I think it's pretty tight.
Yeah. It's like when you think about it, put it in context, as we were just talking about when they got knocked out early.
Yeah, so I'll say
that's shooting and stuff.
I'll say Oilers 67, and I'll say St. Louis 62.
I'll say Islanders have the most 68, Oilers 67.
All right, the answer is Number 1 is the Edmonton Oilers, 69 wins.
Oh, they did come close to 70.
So you were right with the number 2. It is the Islanders. It's 65.
Okay, so 65, yeah. So so those two. I picked both those two, didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, it had to be. Once you looked at it from like a schematic point of view, because I was thinking about when I was saying Montreal, I was thinking about way back in the old days. You say it doesn't have to be an expansion team. It doesn't have to be an original 6 team. And I went, oh fuck yeah. Then the light bulb went on. It could only be those 2 teams because what they won so quick, so many games, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because even though the Islanders, even though they were dominant for like 6 years, like 3 years in a row, they were out in the first round, even though they were like 7 games or 6 games. So there was minimal games. But once they started winning those championships, fuck, how many wins were they getting? They were rolling.
Yeah, they were unstoppable, basically.
They went to the finals 5 years in a row, won 4.
Yep.
Think about that. Montreal won 4 in a row, but we didn't go 5 years in a row. Edmonton didn't.
Well, Montreal did it, but in the 50s.
No, Montreal won 4 in a row in the 70s too.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying they did win 5 in a row in the 50s, though.
Yeah, in the 50s, that's a little bit differently, but they still won it. You know what I mean? But look, I'm thinking about that run by the Islanders, though. They make the finals 5 years in a row because Edmonton, they won 4 or 5, but they went 2, lost 1, 2.
Yeah, the middles won. They lost in the second round.
Exactly. So those Islander teams, and you know what? Nobody ever talks about them, do they?
No, not too much anymore.
And that's a sin because I don't know why. Like that, those teams are great. Just because the organization's a piece of shit now.
Well, they were kind of sandwiched right between the Habs and the Oilers, right?
Kind of, sort of, maybe.
Exactly, they were sandwiched.
But the bottom line is, man, that was a good team. That was a very good hockey team, and all those other teams get their props still all the time, and they don't. And look, they had some great players on that team, like Mike Bossy made one of the, like we say, God bless his soul. He, purest goal scorer that ever played in the NHL. They had something on the NHL Network about him. It flashed his numbers. His numbers were ridiculous, but you've already looked them up, so you've noticed. Another guy with ridiculous numbers. But Islanders, I think they should get more cred. At the time, the really drag was is like Montreal never played them in the playoffs.
We looked it up. They did play each other once.
But it was early in Montreal won, right?
Yes.
I believe. Yeah, but in their glory days, they never played. Like 78, 79, or 80. They should have played each other in those 3 years, or 81. Those would have been the best years because Habs are still getting 100, 105 points.
So they beat them 77 in the semifinals.
Who, we did?
Yeah.
That's the only year we played them, though, right?
Yeah.
76,
76. No, you beat them in the semifinals 2 years in a row. 76 and 77.
Yeah, but they didn't get back at us at 78, 79, 80 because we won again in 78. We won again in 79.
Yeah.
And then they went on the tear, but they won in 80, 81, but we were like still at the top. 80, 81. We got knocked out in the first round after those 4 Stanley Cups. We were like a top 3 team in the league.
Let's see, 1980, you guys were, third best in the league, but you lost in the second round. Yeah, we sucked. We kept doing dumb things then. That was the Pierre LaRouche years too. That's the drag. So we got to get this wrapped up. Cruz, what is the game you're looking forward to the most this week?
The one I'm looking forward to most? I haven't given it much thought. I'm really looking forward to this F1 as soon as we get done this show, to tell you the truth. But I'm really looking forward, you know why? For the temperature of the city. I'm looking for Game 1, Florida-Toronto.
So am I. That's going to be mine. I mean, you probably could have predicted that.
But I'm sold in now. I live in the city. Why not pay close attention to what's going on? And I hope they keep on winning.
I hope so, too.
Alrighty.
Anyways, Cruz, wishing you all the best this week. Hope that everyone is happy.
Let everybody know, by the way, when you listen to this show and how well it's done, our producer, our manager, our stage floor guy, Mr. Andrew Mullaney, who's done this remotely because I had a crazy-ass busy today, the quality of the show does not fall down due to the fact of your productivity, young man. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Anything else you're going to say?
That is just about it. My name is Andrew Mullaney.
My name is Cruz. Enjoy the week. And what do?
We keep the vibe alive.
The vibe alive.
Do you have a question? We'll answer it on the air. Send it to thehousethathappens@gmail.com. You can find us on Podbean, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, iHeart Radio, Player FM, Podchaser, Boomplay, and SoundCloud. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at The House That Happens, and on X at House Happens.